So we would like to. So as I pour the water, you call on an ancestor that is a national ancestor, an ancestor that we all share in common. I'll start it off with Honorable Marcus Garvey.
Ashe.
Malcolm X.
Ashe.
Malcolm X.
Ashe.
Elijah Muhammad.
Ashe.
Harry Tubman.
Ashe. Bob Marley.
Ashe.
Double Drum.
Ashe. Nathaniel Brown.
Ashe.
Denmark Vesey.
Ashe.
Nat Turner.
Ashe. Kwame Nkrumah.
Ashe.
Haile Selassie.
Ashe.
Tiki Jordan.
Ashe.
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 Oshun.
Ashe.
Eru.
Ashe.
Sek. Ashe.
Hawthorne.
Ashe.
And we would like to give acknowledgement to names known and unknown, names who we haven't called upon, all of those great people of our culture who has made it possible for us to cross the Atlantic many, many, many times, and now thinking about the deeper regions of space. I don't know which direction we're in right now, but we're going to go around the orbit a little bit and talk about different things. We'd like to give acknowledgement to that. Now let us call on our personal ancestors, those of the members of our immediate family that we like to give a little energy and a little recognition to. I'd like to start with my dear mother, Jessie Mae Coulter.
Ashe.
My grandmother, Irene Shaw.
Ashe.
My grandmother, Noel Ohio.
Ashe.
My son, Melvin Monolito Doherty.
Ashe.
Miss Dorothy Walker.
Ashe. My grandfather, Harry Spotsville. Ashe.
My father, Willie Edward Richardson.
Ashe.
My mother.
Ashe.
My father, Emmanuel Hunter.
Ashe.
My mother, Jeanette Hill.
Ashe. My grandma,
Go ahead.
Mary Richmond.
Ashe.
I think since Michael Jordan is such a dear friend to all black people, it's a hero, you might as well say his father.
Ashe.
Yeah.
And is there anyone else who would like to? Yes.
My mother, Elizabeth Finger.
Ashe.
Ashe.
My brother, Keith Lane.
Ashe.
My father, Elijah Whitehead.
Ashe.
My grandmother, Pearl Matthews.
Ashe.
My grandfather, James Callahan.
Ashe.
My grandmother, Clara Mahone.
Ashe.
And we would like to say for those ancestors whose name we haven't called, for those who have not even have anyone to call their names, for the less fortunate ones, we'd like to recognize them also, those who, because of auto accidents or crack or drugs or missing person, we'd just like to give them recognition and give them ashe.
Ashe.
We take care of our own, be them on this planet or any place else, we take care of our own.
And I could use some water in that cup to drink.
Okay.
Okay, I'll get some things for you.
And we ready to roll.
The water is filtered. The water that's in the hallway is not out of the regular pipes. We do have a filter there, so feel free to drink the water in the hallway.
Brothers and sisters, I'm Sister Afrikiti.
Again,
And it is my pleasure to introduce the psalm and to reintroduce to many our beloved brother Bobby Hemmitt. I met Bobby during Revolution 101. It was the first time I'd ever heard of the brother. He just wiped me out. I'd never heard a black man talk about ancient Kemet like that in a language where everybody could understand, plain and simple. Brother Bobby is a graduate of Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina, and Clark University. He masters in commercial art. And a little known fact, Brother Bobby is indeed a wonderful artist. For the last 7 years, he's been extensively involved in researching the mysteries and sacred sciences of our ancestors. And and he brings it home simply and plainly with massive documentation, as he does like to do. The African world order, we hear so much about the New World Order. We're into the African world order because that's the order that it has to be, as it was in the beginning, so it should be in the end. He's been a frequent guest on my program, Potential Vibes, and people are always asking for him. I took him to the federal penitentiary about 2 weeks ago. He turned that out. I don't know if they're going to ever let me come back. So right now, it's my pleasure indeed to bring forward our brother, Bobby Hemmitt.
And I'm glad to have you griots out here too. Yeah, that makes it feel at home. We can really put it on. One good thing I found out recently that ever since I've been studying, I started off in Egyptology. Is that on?
Yeah.
All right, then, let's roll. I started out in Egyptology and the whole Black History movement, and found myself drawn to Hemmitt, and recently Atlantis, and I met a beautiful sister by the name of Tracy. I can't think of. She said not only did Atlantis exist, but I was there and she was there. We were also in Hemmitt also. And then I found out something else about 2 nights ago that put the head on all of this stuff, and I know this stuff is divinely guided. Number one, when I got into the metaphysical side of the African history of the mystery system, I was particularly drawn to the dog star called Sirius. They would say Sothic, Greek, or Sept in Hemmitt, or Sabdu, which means Horus and Sirius. There's many names. Sabdu, the Blue Star Krishna, or something by the Hopi Indians, and also we have the dog, the jackal in Hemmitt. You have an animal called the griffey in equatorial Africa, deep into the heartland of Africa, called a griffey. This dog that could see behind, in the front of it and in the back of it. They say, well, this is the animal that we want to choose to give some type of indication of where we are from and what is watching over us. And also the coyote in ancient Indians folklore is this particular animal. Well, why the dog, number one? Why the dog? Number one, a dog sits on a porch, and a dog barks if danger comes, or certain cycles, certain things. A dog will let you know what time it is. So therefore, it was a great symbol to use if you want to say the jackal in Hemmitt, or the dog that the Europeans call it, the dog star. And it was a great symbol because it meant the time of warning, the time of judgment, and some indication of time cycles. This is why it is called the dog star in the constellation of Canis Major or Canis Major. Also, it was known as a jackal in Africa, the jackal or the hyena, because the jackal and the hyena, when the young does not go out and hunt the food. The mother goes out and hunts the food, and what it does is it eats the food, chews it up, then comes back and regurgitates it to the young. Well, it's some type of showing some type of great provider, or some type of providing for a family. And also it means also because of you taking in something and regurgitating it, it means it was a cycle that would come around again. What comes around goes around. So it was the ideal thing. I just want to give you that bit of information on the dog. But there's some good information that I got about 2 days ago. Went to the store. Every now and then you'll get a European that tells the truth. Old white woman, I've been seeing her stuff. Her name is Anna Marie Carlton. Old white woman in her 70s. Well, she wrote this. She might be dead now. I don't know. She wrote this book in 78. The name of this book is Kundalini West, and she wrote it in 1978. One interesting thing when she started dealing with the zodiacs, or the actual astronomical or astrological signs of, Sagittarius, Gemini, Taurus. When it got to my sign, she said, well, this person, number one, on the negative side, if he was on alcohol or whatever type thing, he would be a total drunk or a total crackhead or whatever, because his sign means that he would be highly addicted to alcohol, cocaine, caffeine, and all of this. Well, I read that and I said, well, I've overcome that cycle, so I don't have to worry about that. Then it said that if he was into women, he would be very lustful. He would be very lustful, and he would chase women and all of this type things. And she gave a whole lot of things on the negative side. And at the end, she gave what is on the positive side. And she said, well, one thing about the positive side of this Sagittarian, which I am a Sagittarius, born November 28th, 1961. That makes me 31 now. She said that if he gets over his low life and starts going to the path of light, this particular Sagittarius, or this Sagittarian, will chase the star Sirius to illuminate himself. And I said, well, isn't that something? Now, I've been dealing with this stuff, and I couldn't break away from this cycle. I've been dealing with it for a year. And for some reason, I go in the store, and it's hard to find stuff on this particular incident, this particular subject. The European hardly ever writes on it. When he does write, he writes good little information on it, but there's hardly no work on it. Yet when you go to Africa and Hemmitt civilization, this was the only star in sight. They call it the one star in sight because at one time you could see it in the daytime. You could see it in the daytime. It is the brightest star in heaven. And I mean, everything that they did was broken down and revolved around this star. Your particular year, the same year that you have today, is based on this particular star. This is where you get your year from. Your civilization, where you have the rising of the Nile that planted the vegetation in the summertime because of this star would rise and the water of the Nile would rise and run over. Your particular civilization as far as agriculture is based off of this star. And the point I'm trying to make is what I'm getting into today is the people, the actual people. You, brothers and sisters, you are based off of this star also. We are the people of God. And number one, you know, if you've seen some of my videos, I said that, I often said that the Dogon said that this was heaven. The Egyptians said that this was heaven. Well, this is the point that I want to bring to you today is the science of the heaven and the science that you are God. And this science that I have brought forth proves it, and the white boy knows it. That the buck stops with you. You are God. So we need to get into this. I want to start, number one, with the Temple of Dendera. Tell the brother, give me some water whenever, you know. I want to start with the Temple of Dendera. Very interesting about this temple. Now, the Temple of Dendera was built in Alexandria, Egypt, or Alexandria, Hemmitt, at a time when the Greeks invaded and the Egyptian priests knew that, hey, we're not going to be around for eternity. We're going to fall eventually. It took a couple of 100 years after that. When you later had the Arab invasion of Hemmitt, it came in, and that was the end of it, which the Arabs occupy Hemmitt to this day. But you had several invasions, the Turks, you had the Greeks, you had the Romans, you had the Hyksos, and you had the Persians. You had several invasions. But one of the first invasions, or one of the invasions that they knew that they could get the job done, number one, the Greeks were the most advanced of the European cultures. So now when the Greeks came into Hemmitt, the Greeks were actually a little bit terrified of the priests. So the priests could get the Greeks to do what they wanted to do. The Greeks were just running the thing, running the state, but actually behind them, the priests were still running things. So the priest said, hey, look, we need a new temple. So they built a couple of brand new temples in the Ptolemy period. One is the temple of Edfu, temple of Horus at Edfu. One is the temple of Isis at Philae, which is the last temple that they closed. And when they closed this temple, Europe immediately went into a dark age. That's the temple of Isis at Philae. These three temples that they built, some of the are still the temples that's the most preserved. Then you have the temple of Hathor at Dendera, one of the same temples. Now, it's interesting about this temple. This temple was built around the star Sirius. There's the reason why this temple was built. Now, not so much of the temple, but what was in the temple and what is on the hieroglyphic inscriptions of the temple. Like I said in many of my tapes, this was called the land of God, and everything they did was a religious purpose. We just build now just to be building for commercial purpose. They built everything. If they didn't have a religious purpose, they didn't build it. So they went from spirituality to the manifestation of technology. Now we go to the manifestation of technology to destruction or whatever. And all. Now, inside of this temple, and I always start my lectures with this, is the temple, is the zodiac of Dendera. And I used to give out handouts and stuff, but you know, we'll get some later on, whatever. Is the zodiac of Dendera. And this represents the zodiac, which is not just an astrological zodiac, but an astronomical zodiac. And this astronomical zodiac gives you all of the stars, all of the gods, and all of the actual ages. And in the middle they show what I always do, and I should have brought the handout to show you this. The hippopotamus god is called Atlet, a Tyre, which is the primordial womb, or the celestial womb, of the birthplace of it all, of the blackness or the darkness of the triple space of the universe, as the Muslim Honorable Elijah Muhammad stated, we came from the triple darkness of space. Well, the information that I got out of Hemmitt is dealing with just that. It's unbelievable. Right here she's having that dog, which is that jackal, which is her first son, which is the manifestation of her. You see, she's called either Newt, which is a later manifestation of Atlet, a Tyre. It's called nothing. From the nothing, you get the absolute. The nothing is triple blackness. And because it is so black until it manifests itself with the brightest light. This is the laws of science and the laws of the universe. So from the nothingness, you get the absolute. You get the all in all, which means what? Allah. You see how these things correlate? We're going to go through a lot of religious things. So if you're in a particular religion, hey, I'm going to have you in this with this because you're not exempt from this. So you have this first dog, a jackal, is called Seb or Soot, S-U-T, Soot, which means black. And it is the first primordial god of history. If you trace history back, this particular primordial dog of God is called Soot, but he has a mother, and that mother is called Tyre, Atlet, or Newt, which means the blackness of space. Soot is a blue-black god, but he manifests light. Keep this in mind because this is about you. In this, they're showing a certain age of things. Now, this particular Soot Typhon, which is later on a fallen god that you know as Set Typhon, but this is another whole series of events that go on in Kemet where you have Osiris and Osirian drama. But this particular god and this particular hippopotamus was not in the actual dynastic period of Kemet. Now, wait a minute. Here it is. They know they're going out. So the temples that they build now, it's going to be some stuff that we catch across the Atlantic about 3,000 years later. You understand? They got Osiris, or Osar, or Aset, or Heru, Osiris, Isis, or Horus, for those of you who don't know, and Set Typhon, which is the adversary of his brother Osiris. They have these gods, but they build this temple and they put these gods of an older time. You see, your other deities come out of this and is a later representation of this. But why would you put Osiris at the forefront? Why would you put the blue-black god Soot and Atlet, which is no more than earlier representation of Isis or Aset and Heru? Are you following me? Why would they give you that particular gods and goddesses in such a late period when they didn't even use these gods and goddesses that much in the whole 3,000 to 4,000 year dynastic period? It is because this god Soot was known as a fallen god. It is later represented as the devil or an evil god, but it is a fallen god. You see, this is how the story goes. He's represented as Soot, a fallen god, but he's represented also as the astronomical phase of Sirius, which was the first in heaven. It was the first of 7 other sons, but it was the first in heaven of 7 other daughters called the 7 Hathors. It was the first in glory. But as the time cycle went on, some people forgot what time it was, is basically what's going on. Now, let me go into some things. Let's trace this to the Christian text and try to understand what's really going on. This god Sut is represented as, and this is represented as El Sadar in the Sumerian text. It's called El Sadar or El Sadi. The Jews later on get the word Jehovah from this same God. You see, now we have a link between, if we're talking about this Jehovah or Jah, the Arabs later on get the word Allah from the same God. Do you follow me? These are just different times, the same principle. And it goes all the way back to what? This dog Sirius, or this god Sut, astronomical counterpart was what? The star Sirius. Do you follow me? Trying to link this in with the heaven context of things. Now, why did they give you this? They understood that, let me get this right now. Okay. They understood that it was a certain God that used to rule the earth, and that God later on will come again to rule again, as what goes around comes around. What is in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. Now, when you're dealing with the Greeks came and they got a person named Manetho, a high priest Manetho, and they said, well, we want you to tell us the history of Egypt, or history of Kemet. He said, okay, I'll tell you the history of Kemet. Number one, there was 500 pharaohs in the dynastic period. That's 3,000 years. There's 800 pharaohs in the pre-dynastic period. That's about 3,500, that's about 5,000 years. They say, well, who used to rule before then? They say, oh, that's when a whole bunch of gods used to rule. That's when a whole bunch of gods used to rule. What do they mean by that? Well, it goes like this. This particular calendar is not talking about Kemet, because Kemet is the later version of having to put the pieces back together of something that happened about 90,000 years ago, maybe 2 million years ago. There's no trace when it comes to the birth, because we forgot to take care of time, and we forgot what time it was. And this is how it goes. At one particular time on earth, you have the Lemuria, or the continent of Mu. Then later on you would have the continent of Atlantis that comes out of that. You had one race of people, black people. That's all it was. We are the prototype of what this planet is supposed to be seeded with. You follow me? We are the rootstock of what this planet originally had. Other races, we even say, well, the white man, he didn't come here for 6,000 years, debated, whatever. But we're talking about other races, Chinese, Indian, all of them. That is later. We're talking about ruling the earth for millions of years. What happened is the reason why they showed you the beginning is a group of beings, supposedly, from Sirius. A group of gods came down and seeded the planet. Well, what does that mean? It just means, some people say it was they came down and they bred with a certain amount of people. But what happened was this: a group of gods, and we'll explain this God factor when we go on. A group of gods came to earth, supposedly, and set up camp here, basically. What happened was, as time went on for millions of years, all they had to do was one thing, was to keep track of time, the time when you entered, which would mean the time from where you came, from the time that you are now. Somehow the esoteric timekeeping got mixed up and they lost the track of time. In an esoteric, in a metaphysical type of structure, time is everything, as well as time is not even relevant. But they lost the track of time. And as of losing track of time, later on, the earth, which was in a fourth, having a physical form at one time, the point that we're trying to get to where you want your pineal gland, your kundalini, your chakras, and your third eye open so you can be to the level of God or become the level of God. All black people on the planet at this particular time were those particular people that we're trying to get to now. But as time went on and they sunk into a fourth dimensional density, the third eye closed up and they started relying more on physical abilities. This is when Hemmitt comes along and the mystery system schools come along to try to teach black people to get back to their original state in which the time when all the people became gods. We suspect that this time lasted from Atlantis, from the fall of Atlantis, which is actually slipping into a third dimension, all the way up to when Manetho said, right before the dynastic period, that's the time when all the gods used to rule. So we're talking roughly 10,000 years ago. It took them that long, even though they started falling and time got more and more out of sync. Later on, leading to the destruction of black people coming across the Atlantic and becoming slaves and losing all memory. But we're talking about that time. It took about a couple of thousands of years. Now, Hemmitt that we know of is actually the decline state, all of it. And even though it's the decline state, it's still greater than anything that we have, that the European or any other civilization have built since it fell. Now, isn't that something? You mean to tell me we were such gods till our decline was greater than anything this world has seen in this 25,000 year period? We'll get into the 25,000 year period. So what happened with this elder race at the beginning is this elder race, by them forgetting time, they got trapped in this particular cycle, or they got trapped on the third dimension. And to make a long story short, from then on, the gods, the same gods that you worship, be it Osiris or whatever, was a lineage of those gods or the elder race that got trapped. Is everybody clear with what I'm saying? Because we're going to link this home with Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and all. Does anybody have any questions on this type of stuff or whatever? If you do, we'll answer them. If you know me, I get long-winded. We'll answer them at the end. Now, going to Atlantis. Atlantis was the time when you had the blue men that used to walk the earth. The blue men from Atlantis. These blue men were seen all over the world. If you go to the Hindu text, if you get into the Hindu text or any of the texts out of India, you would see blue people actually on the paintings. You just go to get any books on India, you'd see these blue people. Well, in actuality, they have them a little light blue, but they were actually darker blue people. Now, these people were seen all over the world. And they say the blue men from Sirius. Well, what do they mean by that? The blue men from Sirius that lived in Atlantis. They meant a person so black until the sky reflects that shadow off of them, that casts that, and it looks blue. They just say blue men and let you know that they were black. You understand? But it was these blue men particular and all. Now, going into Egypt, or Hemmitt, Isis in a text, and I want to read this to you. Isis in the Egyptian text is known as bringing agriculture to the world, which is a black woman. You check? Now, there is Osiris, Isis, space beings from the planet Canis Major. Did Isis bring wheat and corn from Canis Major in the constellation, from the Canis Major constellation? And Earth origin of wheat has not been discovered. Supposedly, she brought wheat and she brought agriculture to the particular, this particular Earth. So what they're showing you is there's a link between space and a link between Earth, and the problem is we talk about heaven, but we don't know where it is. You see, this is the point I'm trying to make with you because I understand it. My whole point to go today is we have so many religions, so many ideologies, but we cannot have a common bound. We just say, well, we know it's all God, but we don't know where it is. And this is where the white boy has got a new story for you, and he's trying to redirect you in another path, you see. Don't fall for it, because you have Blavatsky and the whole Theosophical Society that is, this whole Theosophical Society, what they're doing is they are directed towards the Pleiades, which is another constellation. Now, we're going into the time of where we stand at this particular moment. Now, in this particular moment, I want to read some couple of passages for you. This is in a book called The Cosmic Doctrine by Dion Fortune. You know, The Cosmic Doctrine, page 147. It says, bear in mind, however, the sign of Gemini, for the forces signified by the sign and the influences of Atlantis will influence the earth again in the present age. Such configurations somewhat similar to those in the days of Atlantis. A certain major planetary forces, the signs are influence mankind once again. What they're saying is, in the last time, this particular time when we had a certain earth or a certain cosmic force in the air was 90,000 years ago. You get that? Another thing that's going on. So now, the reason why I'm saying this is because we got all kind of crazy things going on. What we're into is what you call a spiritual quickening. You see, if you're thinking this way, you will quicken this way. If you're thinking nothing but ignorance, you quicken more with the ignorance. The energy going to quicken you whether you like it or not. You have the cosmic energy that if you are thinking non-thoughts, then you will be the best at using non-thought. So you will kill a brother over a hot dog, and if you had thought about it a moment earlier, you wouldn't have dared done it. You see what I'm saying? They had a group of people about a month ago. Boy killed the other, shot at his brother over a doggone hot dog. They fighting over a hot dog. He shot his brother. Brother jumped out the window. The bullet ricocheted and hit the mom and killed her. Crazy stuff. The thing with Michael Jordan, father. I mean, heroes, and you know, I'm not getting into the basketball, but he's still a hero to a lot of people. National heroes, that's a great magnitude of letting you know what things going on when you have this type of thing that went on with his father and all. Just all this crazy stuff that's going on, you're having a spiritual quickening. But on the other hand, you are challenging all the stuff. You challenging the church. You are challenging, you just know things are not right, and for some reason you have chose to do much more struggling. Am I not lying? Certain things that is not setting with you, certain spiritual awareness that you are understanding. You are looking at the news now, and you can tell when the white boy lying. You can tell when he's lying and all. Well, let's take this date and let's run this date down. Let's see when the start of it is. Bear in mind, when I give you these particular dates, remember, it's in anywhere in between that time. Because remember now, when the European put out the stuff for his people, he's not going to put the actual time because he don't want you to know the actual time. So he's giving you some time, but we want you to work within this time frame. But this particular date, I do believe, will be the start of something. They say once you get out of 1993, hey, you're going to be into something. Listen. It says the time, April 1994, when Sothic and Horus Sabdu celebrate their 50-year heroes Gamos, a holy reunion. Such close timing between the solar system, the sun, the earth, Pluto, and Neptune, and Sirius. The Sothic star occurs but once every 90,000 years. That's the same time that they're talking about this energy that was on the scene during the days of Atlantis. And during the days of Atlantis, if you were black, or you were the original people, because there were no other people on the earth, you were nothing but G-O-D, God, as C. Freeman said, generator, operator, and destroyer. It's a difference between the creator now. Don't get me wrong. There's the creator force, and there's the God force. But remember, you are one with that. You understand? Let's deal with this God question. If I got a big, if this bucket represents the universe, you say that's the universe. That's where God is. The all in all. The almighty. And if I take a cup and dip some water out of that cup, Is not the contents out of that bucket, is not the contents that's in the cup the same as in the universe? Is it the same? Well, you are nothing but a smaller composite of a greater universe, which makes you God, G-O-D. As C. Freeman L. said, generator, operator, and destroyer. There's some science into that also, too. We'll get into that. Now, the Sirius Sothic star system occurs but every 90,000 years, giving some inkling of a stunning rarity and evolutionary opportunity for humanity during the last 2 decades of the 20th century. Okay, we're knowing that the time that we've been talking about of when all this stuff gonna jump off is yesterday. Check. Everybody in here at this moment should be about the business of liberating themselves. Go on and do what you have to do. We don't want to stop you from doing what you want to do, getting paid and getting yours. But on the other hand, you should be getting yours while you're getting some sense in your head to get the hell on out of here. We'll talk about that also too. Now, that leaves us to a greater point on what's going on. And that comes what we call the war in heaven. You see, about a couple of billion years ago, or a couple of million years ago, the people of Sirius had a war with the people of Orion. Orion is known as the evil Sahus, and it's also known as Nimrod in the Bible, as Nimrod. See, what happens in mythology is the scientists of that day coded everything, all the science in mythology. So when you learn the religion, you learn actually geometry, physics, trigonometry, and all of the sciences in one shot. Now we separate it. So Nimrod is known as an evil person that is also in the book of Job. You can check that out. There's a part about Nimrod. I'll give you the verse. Nimrod, in this particular Bible verse, is talking about an evil sector of the universe called the evil Sahus of Orion. Now, I always give out good books. I got a lot of esoteric information. Some of this stuff I can't even give out because you think I'm crazy from where I get this stuff from. But what I have done is I have checked references that you can go out and get. Some of this stuff is not available. Some of this stuff is coming from London, England, and it's not even available. But I've got references that you can check and buy in book form and get. Now, one of the books that you need to get is this book called Other Tongues of the Flesh by George Hunt Williamson. Other Tongues of the Flesh by George Hunt Williamson. You see, we go to these white societies out here in Atlanta. You got the Kabbalah Society and all these different societies. When you go in the library, they got all these UFO books. There's some UFO books that explain the existence of UFO. The real deal white people that study the Kabbalah and all this stuff, they don't even deal with that stuff because they already know that it's UFOs. They ain't got but one book in their library. And that's this book by George Hunt Williamson. Why? Because, see, George Hunt Williamson is a white UFOologist, or ufologist, however they say this thing, of the 1950s. You see, a lot of the stuff that you get now on UFOs, we say flying saucers, is into the new age. People just writing books to make money. So some of the stuff is just crazy stuff. But the thing about it is to get earlier material, and then you will understand by this earlier material, you will understand that they was the ones who was honest about it because they was writing. They had to be honest because they was writing about it at a time when most of America wasn't even into it. You see, the first UFO crash that we know of, which they're saying was an actual testing crash between the Germans and the United States, was at Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. The crash, and one at Aztec and all. But there's a book called The Roswell Incident, too, to tell you about the first UFO crash and all this stuff. But this book came out in 1954. It just was reprinted up this year, well, back in last year, called George Hunt Williamson. Well, what makes this book more authentic than a lot of other books that I don't fool around with is because this book here, this cat was abducted by some people from Sirius. And the information that they gave him and put in this book is somewhat close to what is going on in the future, or what's going on. So this is a book that you need to get. We will have these books at Black Media Communication because we need to do this shopping in our own community. And we'll have them somewhat in the next 2 or 3 days. So you need to get this book. Also, I just wanted to put this while we go into the war in heaven. Now, what had happened was, supposedly, as Delbert Blair tells us, he said that there was a war in heaven between a planet called Tyrantar that built this big computer and didn't want to work. that's connected with the Orions. And they didn't want to do any type of work, so they built this computer to do all the work for them. But don't think this stuff is crazy, because remember now, Sirius B, which is the small star that the Dogon said that existed in the European, said it didn't until they got the type of stuff later on in the earlier part of this century to find out that these people was not lying. They didn't know how these people could understand this stuff. Sirius B is called the dwarf nova because it was a burnout star that travels every 60-something years around Sirius, or 50-something years around Sirius, that the Dogon told them was there. This star, it used to be a regular star. It burnt out before our sun was even formed. So we're talking about that type of technology that is so doggone advanced until the stuff that we got now is at least 3-4 million years old. This is the stuff that America is trying to get on to now. Some of the new breakthroughs in science is almost 3 or 4, 5 million years, maybe 1 billion years into the universe. You get a concept of how vast and how old this world is, including this planet, because we did things that is far more advanced right here on Earth, black people, than anything that America has gotten into now. We did it, and then took a 10,000-year snooze on top of that. Now, they built this big computer, and when they built this big computer, it ran the planet, then it started controlling other solar systems. That's how powerful this thing was. And when it broke the interplanetary brotherhood laws, because there's an interplanetary brotherhood that governs the universe, which the head of that is Sirius. Check. Get into that. When it broke the laws, then Sirius came in because they are the most advanced, and they came in and whipped their behind. It took about 10 years. And as a result, some of them reincarnated on Earth. And we basically know who they in cahoots with at this particular time. Now, so they had this big war in heaven. When I called Deborah Blair up and I said, well, I want to know, where did you get this information? He said, well, look. He said a black man gave him a book called The Black Man Origin of Space, talking about Sirius. Gave him this book back in the early 70s to the late 60s, and he read the book and gave it back to the guy. When he really got into this particular area again, he tried to get the book, but it's earlier than the book that he said, because this book came out in 1981, and it's already out of print. And this book is called A Rebirth of Pan by Jim Brandon. And in this book, it gives you a little bit about the war, because I said I wanted to have some documents between this thing and see was this stuff right. And yes, not only do you have a whole section in George Hunt Williamson books about the evil Orions or the evil Sahus to give you the whole breakdown, but in this book it talks about the war in heaven, where it actually gives you hostility between Sirius and Orion. And he said that George Hunt Williamson, he's quoting from this book, from his friends from Sirius reportedly told him about these evil Orions and many others who claim to cross paths with these UFO people in America. Some of these white people that crossed paths with them said also too that these people was no joke, and there was some evil Sahus or evil people from Orion and from a section of the Pleiades. Now you go to the white boys and stuff, they give you all this stuff about the Pleiades. That's their people. Now when we get into, we're going to get into this stuff, believe me, you all stick around because it's going to get very interesting, because I'm going to link all this stuff together. Might seem like I'm rambling now, but I'm linking it together. Now the Pleiades is another constellation called the Holy Seven Reaches. They call them of the Pleiades and all this, and they're all glorified about the Pleiades. And these white people have got in cahoots with the Pleiades and also with the Orions. Well, which is a part of the Pleiades. That whole thing, they have a joining link with the Orions. Supposedly, you have the Philadelphia experiment that went on in the 1930s with a guy by the name of Nikola Tesla, which is a white scientist that used to could go up on the Akashic records of the mental plane and get devices from outer space in his mind, transfer them on paper, and give them to, and would give all these inventions that used to come out, all types of stuff. How many inventions was it? Hundreds of inventions and stuff. Getting it off of the mental, or the astral plane, or the mental plane, or the Akashic records. He had tapped into this. Well, he was working also with the American government, And they had something called the Philadelphia Experiment. You can get the movie, The Philadelphia Experiment, for those of you who haven't seen the movie. 98% of the movie is real. And there's also a book, and also you can go and rent the video from Black Media Communications on the Philadelphia Experiment, where they actually had time travel, where they transported some sailors from what, 1940 what? 1943 to 1983. And some of the people that was in this, because it was along with the Navy, and some of the people that was actually working with this, when they transported these two sailors, two brothers, to 1983, some of the same men that they had seen the same day was already aged and was living in 1983 when these people came and they transported. Now this stuff is real. It is as real as you sitting here. If you can think of it, it exists in the universe. You see, the white people know that science fiction is actually science fact. And the stuff that you call real is actually fiction. There's an old saying, truth is stranger than fiction. That's why Oxford Bookstore, both the one on Far Road and the one on Peachtree Battle, the used one, they got two huge comic book stores. And that's where their kids are learning all the science. They got a group of kids called the cyberpunks. I happen to meet some of these kids. Let me get into the Philadelphia Experiment and I'll tell you about that. Remind me. The Philadelphia Experiment is invented time travel. Anyway, they sent these two sailors back to 1943, and one sailor had jumped over the boat, and he started deteriorating fast, and they had to go get his father, took him back into the early 20th century, had another baby, took that baby, snatched that baby into 1943, put the other brother's body in that baby, the soul in that baby, and so on, and this stuff is real. The government has been dealing with this for years. That particular experiment went into what you call the Phoenix Project, which is 99% of all the stuff coming from the Phoenix Project is coming from the people from the Orions who are giving them this information. They gave them this information, starting with Eisenhower. They gave them this information and say, look, if you give us some land down here, because Orion is dying, the planet is dying and the system is dying based on that war that happened, so they got to seek refuge on new land. Well, since Earth is one of the lowest planets that sunk into the lowest part of the universe, the third dimension, everybody's trying to get down here for two reasons. One, to get a spiritual upliftment because this Earth is getting ready to be lifted up. And the other is to try to take over because we are backwards and primitive people. Now, they made an actual agreement with the government in 1959, I think it was Eisenhower. Told them, look, you give us some places underneath the earth or on the land, and we'll give you this information that it'll take you all the next 1,000 years to get with. But remember now, the information that they gave them is inferior information because the information they gave them is at least 80,000 years old compared to Sirius. Our backup. We're in a war, right? We got backup. We got all the backup we need. We don't have to pick up one gun. Now, so they gave them this particular information, and this is where the Phoenix Project comes out of, and this is where you have your top secret military UFO programs that's going on in this particular project. You can get a book called the Montauk Project. What's the book by, you know? We'll give you the name of the book, the Montauk Project. It gives you both the Philadelphia Experiment and the Phoenix Project. So they have perfected, they have gone into time travels, the first realms of it. They can do the time travel thing, the first realm. They hadn't gone to the overall part of it because the Interplanetary Brotherhood is getting ready to stop that. But what's the name of that, the guy? Preston B. Nichols with Peter Moon. Preston B. Nichols, the Montauk Project, talks about the Philadelphia Experiment. Now the Orion people, if somebody just picked that up or whatever, they gave them this particular information. And this is what the government is using. Now that's why I told you about these particular UFOs that can land on the ground. They are governed by electricity. They can land anywhere. That's the inferior stuff that the Orions gave them. The Orions have those particular type spaceships that they've been doing their stuff in because they are backwards, because they have been stopped by the Interplanetary Brotherhood, and they never did develop a serious technology enough to go into what you call the spiritual realms of UFOlogy, technology, which technology is based on the spirituality. This is why some of the UFOs, the ones from Sirius, can disappear and reappear right before your eyes. This is why some of you all don't see them, because you don't have your third eye open, and why some people that's spiritual enough see them all the time. This is the type of stuff. But anyway, a lot of that is also in other tongues of the flesh. Now, I'm getting on with some other stuff, but what's happening is you have a particular section that's going on with the actual Orions and the government dealing with the particular Orions. Now, you have the woman Mame Blavatsky in the Theosophical Society that wrote the books The Secret Doctrines and Isis Unveiled. 2 massive volumes, about 1,000 pages in each volume. Got all these books and got 1 or 2 pages on Sirius. But it was interesting what she said about Sirius. She wanted to put it in there, but then again, they wasn't going to focus on Sirius because they was telling the white people, you need to get to another certain place in the constellation. The reason why, because Sirius is the retribution place. It's the place where you reap what you sow, and so the cause and effect, and we're going to do the effect at the particular time. You get that right. And this is what this whole planet is governed behind. Now, Blavatsky, but in this particular page, she said, well, if you want to look at heaven, find out where it is. She said, well, we must look at the relationship between Sirius in the constellation of Canis Major and our sun. Said our sun is about 20 times larger or 20 times greater than the earth. But it falls into insignificance to a greater sun that is about 20 times or 30 times greater than it. And that is Sirius. That's the first thing she says. The second page, she talks about the same thing about Isis bringing wheat from Sirius. And also she said that Sirius is also the Lord of the Buddhas. Well, we come to find out that Sirius is the Lord of all the religions, because all the religions at first started from black people. You understand? And they had one goal in sight. All we're arguing over is the different interpretations, or the linguistic interpretations, or the cultural or customs interpretation of the same science. You get that? Now, but she has about 7 or 8 or 9 pages on the Pleiades. And she talks about this Pleiades that they're trying to get to and all. Well, there's a lady by the name of Alice Bailey that is in the Theosophical Society that is also a part of Blavatsky's group. Then later on, after Blavatsky died, she started doing channeling. Let me tell you what white people are into, how we're not advanced. White people are into channeling. Well, they can channel through meditation, can channel, and through other types of devices, parts of the universe and get information. They're doing this stuff. I meet them every day. I meet these white people every day that's doing all this stuff. Well, anyway, she channeled this stuff mainly from the Pleiades, and she says in the book that, number one, Sirius is the Lord of judgment and the Lord of karma. You reap what you sow, mayat, cause and effect. You understand? What goes around comes around. The law of retribution, of reciprocity. She said, but our goal is to get to the Pleiades. We're trying to bypass Sirius and go straight to the Pleiades. Then comes a group of white people that say they are from the constellation of Lyra. See, they didn't Blavatsky and them never did say where they were from. They just said that we're trying to get to the Pleiades because they knew what was coming with them from Sirius. Stick with me because I'm going to tie it all in. Are you with me? Okay, now. Then you have Lyra. Now, this is where actually white people say they are from. Lyra. You know they're lying because in their literature, they say that, well, the people from Sirius think they have a personal relationship for Earth because they were the first people on it. But actually, this was the Lyran's project, but the Syrians beat us to it, those evil Syrians. In the process of trying to put down a particular group, they end up telling the truth. You understand how that goes? So we want to get you into this particular thing of where we are focused and what is the goods and the gold that's getting ready to come to you, because the people got a present for you. It's all in you. We so hooked up until I just smile saying, hey, we are hooked up. But you in here got to do a particular job. Don't worry about the people out on outside. Some of them ain't going to make it, but a lot of them are. It's just us. We have to do particular job. Now, also the Dogon tells this particular story. The Dogon said that Sirius had to overcome their forms of the devil in Sirius, or Set Typhon in Sirius. And they said by this, they said that the Dogon, the dwellers in the Sirius systems, she said the Dogon said that the dwellers in the Sirius system had to overcome their own particular set. But since the Osirian drama was transferred to our Sirius system, and the earth in particular, we are now faced with some battle of our Syrian cousins fought in another time zone. Well, let me explain what's going on. All the stuff that went on with Orion in this whole war in heaven, you see up in the space, you have, it's all a mental plane that's going on up there, where your own particular thoughts can manifest. Your own particular thoughts are things. Some of the thoughts that you are getting don't even come from you. They come from people that thought these thoughts a couple of thousand millions of years ago that's just now manifesting in you. That's why in this book they got a whole section on the wanderers. And guess who the wanderers are? The wanderers are you. Where they tell you never be afraid to talk about an idea. Because you think that you are the only one that thought about it. Some reason you don't say nothing. You'll wait till somebody else document it where you go, oh, guess what? I had the same kind of idea. When I started getting on the UFO stuff, all these people started telling me all these stories. Wouldn't say nothing to nobody else because you know why? Because everybody say you crazy. Well, you have ideas in your mind all the time. Great ideas. Stuff that can help your own people, but you never say anything because you don't know that in actuality this stuff exists. You're just thinking it's some crazy stuff. Well, they say never be afraid to express an idea because you were the only one that thought about it. You're not the only one that thought about it. That is a thought that your ancestors thought of thousands of years ago. It's like the brother Jabril of the Nation of Islam, who is the scholar of the Nation of Islam, said, I never thought of a single great idea ever in my life. I never thought of a single great idea ever in my life. Because we're hooked up with the cosmos, the thoughts are actual things. So your thoughts are thoughts, you just reaching in the universe with your mind and getting them and using them for your own benefit. Well, what happened was because you had this war on Sirius, because you had this war, what happened was these thoughts travel through the universe for thousands of millions of years. Since the earth is on what you call a third dimensional plane, which means everything that gets trapped down here comes into the physical. You get that? Everything comes into the physical. These thoughts enter into our realm and start instant replaying themselves all over again. So in actuality, we don't exist. All that we're going through is something that happened a couple of million years ago that's just replaying itself out. The good part about that is we know that we already won that war. You understand what I'm saying? You see how beautiful that is? It's an instant replay of things that went on a couple of millions of years ago because this is such a low point that fell into the third dimension. This actual thoughts materialize into things and it instant replay itself. In actuality, all what we're going through is something that went on before. And we know the end result is we kick behind and the people from Sirius whip the Orions behind. That's why the Orions is coming here now and in cahoots with our enemies, the United States government and all the action secret societies and all this stuff and giving them science, you see. And the point about that is this. It boils down to this. That even though they got time travel, what happened was the time travel they got is miniature. So the white boys are trying to do something with time as a cycle of time, not just transport. They're trying to actually affect time itself as we know it, based on what the Orions are giving them, because they know that their time is about up. Their time is up in your lifetime in a few years. So now the people from Sirius say, well, the race is on. Before you do this, we're going to come in and tear you down. That's why Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that if the white boy find the true meaning of time out, or the atom, it will take all of the interplanetary brotherhood to take him off the planet. That's why the rush is on to get to them before they go into and tap into some other stuff that will actually affect the universe. Now, let's go into some things from Sirius. In the 1960s, in Spain, a group of people contacted some people in Spain, and the name of these people were called UMO. UMMO. Which is described, it says what it is it's a cosmic federation of planets. Has been received by people in Spain. The people in Spain got this information from these people from UMO that claim to have details on the origin of civilization. So that's nobody but our people that know all of this stuff that went on before. Now, it says, this is the quote taken from the people from UMO. And I'll tell you what UMO is a code for another word. It says, we wish to inform the planet Earth our origin and purpose or visit to you, purpose or visit to you. We come from UMO, a planet that rotates around the star Imaya, recorded under the designation of the wolf. Now, Imaya, or Imaya, is an African deity from the Yoruba. It's also Imaya in the Dogons, which is the people that supposedly that got all the stuff from Sirius, say that it's the third planet around Sirius that our ancestors and our people live on. They say in the designation of the wolf is a dog, and it means the dog star. You understand? These people were contacted, and they gave them this information about Imaya. Now, this is the key point about the Imaya thing, is the Dogon told them, not only do we have a Sirius B that the European couldn't see, which is the burnout star, we also have a Sirius C that a scientist in the 1950s saw it twice and never saw it again. And this is supposedly where our people are on. For those of you who didn't get that Dogon story about our people are on a particular planet. And at a particular time, they're going to return with the ancestors of man and come from the water, and they're going to subdue their evil brother Set, or the evil brother Ogu, which means the pale fox, pale meaning white, or the governments of the world. Because some of these white people down here don't, believe it or not, I've been noticing this stuff, and let's not be hypocrites. Some of these white people now don't do no more to you than your own people do to you. They just out there, let's just face it. And whatever they think about you, that really don't matter in your life. You don't even come across these kind of people and all this type of stuff. So they're talking about major things, but let me tell you something. When the government get right and say, you got to choose sides, you best believe they're going to be in their corner. The Bible tells you there's a point where they say, go to your people. Have you ever, that is in the Bible. And there's going to be a point. Honorable Elijah Muhammad says there's going to be a time when they say, go to your people. So we already know that when it comes to make the choice, some of them going to be down with us now. There's going to be a few of them going to be down with us. Because they know that they don't want to get slayed. And they know people are righteousness. And they know something about us that we don't know, that we gods. But there's going to be some that is going to go with the actual government, like they've been going to. And some of our people are going to go with the government also, too. Case in point, to let you know that you God, you go right down to the George Washington. If I'm lying, then you don't blame me, blame the white people. You go right down to Alexandria, Virginia. In the George Washington Masonic Memorial. Go through, it's a free tour. You don't have to pay nothing. Take the tour, and they go through all the stuff that the Masons put in this building, this big shrine. And you go to all the floors, and you learn about the grotto rite, the Scottish rite, the York rite. And when you get to the top floor, if you're not a group of people, if you're a group of black people, they usually say that store is under construction, or they don't open that up. But if you're one or two black people, you sneak in with a whole group of white people, they'll take you in the top floor. And in the top floor, they got a bunch of white people reaching up to heaven, and they got this big black hand coming down to get them. Now, call me a liar and call me crazy, but the white man knows something. Why in the top of his, George Washington is the father of his country, and in his shrine, at the top, where they tell you the pinnacle of all this, they telling you who God. Why is it they're going to put a big black hand coming from heaven? If I'm lying, I'm flying. I saw it with my own eyes. Check. So we gonna get it, we gonna know who God is. Well, anyway, this third planet, Hemmitt, is supposedly where the Dogon say where our people are on, supposedly. Now, to go into some things, let's go into some esoteric science of actual Christianity. Christianity, everybody all right? Okay, the ancient Egyptians more or less equated their chief goddess Isis with Sirius, which they call Sept. Another Egyptian name for the star Seb is identified with El Sadar. In many Hebrew names for the ancient deity translated simply meaning God. El Sadar is later translated to Jehovah or Jah. You get that? We're talking about the same origin. Now, let's go into some stuff. Your Bible is based on, and you can go to C. Freeman L., he teaches the stuff, or get the Metaphysical Dictionary. Your Bible is based on stuff that came from the Kabbalists, which was the people that knew the breakdown of the tree of life, that they got out of Egypt. The breakdown of the tree of life, which means your universe and the breakdown of your body and the cells in your body. Decoded right in the Bible. That's what your Bible is about. If you break the signs down, it's related to some parts of history. They call it labial history, which means some of the things didn't really go on. Some of it is prophetic history, and it's related also to your body. Well, in there you have the tree of life, which is the holy Kabbalah. And in the tree of life is the breakdown of your body and the breakdown of the heaven. Well, let's go ahead and try to get a picture of where we stand on the tree of life. This is the tree of life. And in the tree of life, what you have is, you have earth at the bottom. It's called Malkuth, which is the lowest. You have Venus right here. That's called Netzach, these words. Mercury right here, which is called chest. Yased, which means the moon, Luna. This is the Sephira of beauty, the sun, which is the sun, the formative world. Hod, which means Mercury. This is Jupiter. This is Mercury. Mars is right here, which is called Gebra. Now, these right here represent the Earth and our particular, the immediate, what you call the Milky Way, our immediate 12 zodiac. Huh? Nebulum, oh yeah, well, nebula is the real name for it. Nebula. It represents the part within our solar system governed by our sun. Here's the moon and here is Earth. You got that? Now, this is this part, which is our solar system. When you get into across this actual, they call this the crossing over, you get into the heaven worlds, which Saturn is represented as a actual gateway to another dimension. That's why it's got the rings around it. And then you get into the zodiacal world, which is the astronomical zodiacal world. And these three top sepras are what you call the archetypal world or the heaven world. In the heaven world, you have Bina, which means understanding, which means mother. You have Shakma, which means wisdom, which is father. And then you have Kether, which means light. Light, or the crown, which is also the crown chakra on your head, which is the Christ mind. Check? Which is the Christ mind. See, Jesus just was one of those figures. But that figure represented a whole race of people. Guess who that is? Already documented. We're going to get to that. But right in here is the archetypal world. And right up top, Kether is actually Sirius, because it's the brightest light, and it is our sun's father. The sun behind the sun. You got that? So that would be the father and the son. You get that? Up top of this is something called Ansar, or Ansar, which means nothingness, which is the greater universe, the blackness. because it's so black, it reflects its first primordial light, which is Kether. You get that? Which is Sirius. And because this is the archetypal world, all this is radiating under Sirius. All this is the archetypal world. So they're actually talking about that particular realm. Yeah, everybody clear on that? So all of this is actually Sirius. These are the polarities, or you would say the negative current and the positive current, which negative doesn't mean negative anything. It means the feminine principle, the negative is like the AC/DC, that current that draws in. The positive is what draws out. It doesn't have anything to do with negative and positive in the same aspect. You understand? So you would have the feminine principle, the mother, and then you would have the father. Same archetypal word, talking about Godhood. And it's actually talking about two principles in you. You have a feminine principle and a masculine principle. Man is not man not unless man is half woman. Woman is not woman not unless woman is half man. This is the duality that's coming together that represents one in us, the walking universe, the smaller microcosmic universe. But in the greater universe, the wisdom, which is the understanding, which is the mother, and the wisdom, which is the father, represents Sirius, which is all this, which is reflected from a greater part. And I should have brought something that actually had that realm where they talk about the blackness of space, which is the mother, the great womb of the universe, which is the mother of the crown like Kether. Now, I want to break that down. That is the Kabbalah, but it's also not only talking about the actual breakdowns in your body, and we can go into the breakdowns of your body, take a lot of time, but it's actually talking about the breakdowns of the universe that's going on. Now, I was up in a store. White woman told me that white woman came up, we started talking, they know all. She said, well, not only did this guy, George Hunt Williamson, wrote this book. He wrote a book called, I think it's called Road in the Sky. And he wrote another book that he received from the people from Sirius. He gave him something called a transcript of the hierarchy. And in this transcript of the hierarchy, which I think it might be out of print, but in this transcript of the hierarchy, I was just fortunate enough to get a couple of pages of this thing, and I didn't bring the doggone thing with me. But in this transcript of the hierarchy, they talk about God being caught up within the Father, Jesus being caught up within the Father in the Bible, and the Father they're talking about is actually Jesus being caught up into Sirius. And that's called, and so they said that Sirius is actually the heaven region, the actual heaven region that our religions come from. Okay, y'all got all that, right? Now, I want to show you something. Now this is coming from the group called the Golden Dawn Society, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn Society that Aleister Crowley, the white boy, was a member of. Well, they took the actual Egyptian rituals and they initiated themselves under this actual stuff that they got out of Egypt. It even had Egyptologists on hand to tell them what's going on. And it says right here, the divine name AHIA, Aha, the divine name for Kether, immediately above Kether. And it says that the divine name for Kether immediately above, in the Egyptian sense, is Sirius, the dog star, i.e. Isis or Sothis. Around it, we're not talking about this, but around it, it says, we're not talking about these breakdowns of the zodiacs. Around it is 7 planets. So this is a star. You know astronomy, this is a star. Then you have planets. Now, this is the key. Around it is 7 planets. You have the 3 stars, but there's planets, and what's on planets? People live on planets. You understand? Now, let me explain something. Not only is Sirius the father to our sun, but Sirius is the father for 11 other solar systems, which basically makes up solar systems, and you're not even adding planets and all this stuff, which in a way makes up a universe. They say there's parallel universes. This is universe A, then you go into universe B. And it makes up universe. Is this stuff boring to you? Are you getting anything out of this stuff? Okay, I just want to know, you know. I just want to know, because believe me, it's going to get, I'm going to bring it back down to you. I'm not going to stay up in space, but I'm going to bring it back down to you. I just want you to know. Now, let's look up. Sirius is the father of 11 other solar systems. Now, this word, this Sirius, Sirius, which means one star in sight, which means that the ancients could see it in the daytime, it was so bright. But not only is it one star in sight to us, but it is one star in sight to all terrestrial dwellers. All of them in this particular universe. Now this is very key. I want y'all to listen to what I'm saying because it's very key of what I'm trying to say. Now let me run this to you. One star in sight to all terrestrial dwellers. Sirius A and its dark twin Sirius B imbues a certain magical light. It is 11-fold star of the Great White Brotherhood. Remember that Great White Brotherhood. It ain't talking about white people. It is talking about white meaning Christ's mind or the Christ or the crown chakra. It means those ascended masters that have gone and got this stuff together down here and gone to the other realm. You can rise to that point. They're saying it is the true father of our universe, which has a mother, the darkness of space. It is the true father of our universe, all them stars out now. Now, this is the key that you got to understand. Now, you got to listen. Because, see, we have a bad inferiority complex about ourselves. Now, Honorable Elijah Muhammad says there's other life forms in the universe, but the black man was the most superior. And I said, now, wait a minute. Now, you done gone too doggone far here. You got a big old universe out here. And I would imagine there would be other life forms. We see them green people and all the different types of things they say that come out of space. Well, that's a fact. But to tell me a big old universe, you mean to tell me that we are the most superior? Seems to me now that's some actual therapy or some actual psychology to lift people up. And that's a master psychologist talking. But man, that sounds too damn good to be true. Well, let me tell you something. Let's see if that's right. You didn't understand what the people of the OTO said. You got to understand the codes of what they're talking about. I ain't going to flat out tell you what's going on. Number one, they said that Kether, around it, which is Kether, which is Sirius. Now, they're not talking about Saturn, Mercury, and all these places. They're saying it but they're talking, those are actual planets in our solar system. Canis Major, which is the dog star solar system, is 8 light years away, but it is our closest solar system. It said around it is 7 planets. Now, wait a minute. This is the point I'm trying to make. Picture a whole universe where you have suns. Each sun has its so many planets around it. You understand that? That's astronomy. You got a whole universe out there. Well, this particular universe that we are in, we'll call that Universe 8. And all of it has their suns, and they have planets around those suns, right? But their father's sun, all of those, is Sirius. You get it? Because it was the first in heaven, the first to come up out of the triple darkness of space. It is the first primordial star of all the planets and stars. But it is the father of our universe, but it has 7 planets around it. You check what I'm saying? So it means that if this one has 7 planets around it, these 7 planets will have something greater in common than the other planets, because these planets have these smaller suns. This particular planet, these particular planets that will be around here, the people who would dwell on those planets would actually be God. You understand? And guess who those people are? Us. See, the key to this is if you met the man, Dr. Delbert Blair, we don't have to just speculate. In 1957, Dr. Delbert Blair said he met 2 space beings. It was introduced to him by a UFO pioneer from the 1950s, but I told you had all the real stuff named George Adamski. And he met 2 people, and where were those 2 people from? They were from Sirius. Check. They were from Sirius. Well, as we go on, we'll dwell in a little more of this, but listen. Let's deal with this. How many people in here Muslims? Well, let's check this thing out and see if we ain't talking about the same God. Look, the compassion and mercy, Allah, which esoterically is a combination of male, all, or el, and female, law, or lot. The H in ancient terms, the silent T in Arabic forms a significant God, goddess, she, whose power is radiated, from the most brilliant star in heaven, Sirius or Sothic. The ancient and early Christian Roman times still use the authorized Virgin, the Virgin Mother, the latter-day Sothic Isis of the universe. So now, supposedly Allah, this current, also in the metaphysical dictionary, Allah means field of current. Means field of current. Well, let's go on and let's see. Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the black angel Gabriel was, he said no, the angel Gabriel is supposedly gave the actual Quran to Muhammad, was a black angel, or some Orthodox Muslims say, oh man, that ain't gonna work. Well, let's see if it ain't gonna work. And if I bet, Mom, I bet all the stuff I didn't bring the Holy Quran, but I'll paraphrase for you. And let's see if this thing don't work. And you can quote me. All you got to do is look for the surah under the star. The surah under the star. If I'm lying, I'm flying. The surah under the star, and it quotes. It says, first it talks about Gabriel coming from heaven in these bowels. They say these bowels, but these bowels, and also it's translated the barking of a dog also, tracing it back. But in the actual surah of the Holy Quran, what does it say? It said, the most merciful and the most compassionate. It said, all things must return to God. He bestows and enriches. This God created both male and female from one single ejaculated semen. He will create all things anew. This is the God of Sirius. Now, that's in the surah, under the star. For you Muslims that think I'm bull-jiving, go and check the doggone thing out, because it's right there under the star. Another out-of-print book. This book, let me see if I find this thing right quick. Anyway, I don't want you to read this stuff. Look, what it says is that actual Gabriel came from Sirius and actually gave the Quran to Muhammad. Well, Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Gabriel was nothing but a blue-black man, or they call them angels, but the angels are not no spook angels. They're living beings, and they're living beings, and they can, what we call spook, they can go in and out of dimensions, and they're living beings. So that is another further proof about the star. Now, let's go into Sirius the judgment, and then we're going to go into what y'all stick with me. Let's go into Sirius the judgment, and let's see what's going on here. Gerald Massey states in his book, Historical Jesus, Mythical Christ, page number 7. Page number 7, Historical Christ, Mythical Jesus. It comes out of Historical Jesus, Mythical Christ. This is an excerpt out of a bigger book called Natural Genesis. It says, the day of doom, which was the end of this time, talking about a 26,000 year time cycle, which is the end of this time. Here it is possible to identify this bridge with the starry image of Sirius. Now, what it said is, there's going to be a people that's going to be crying out for help in a particular time cycle. And then, what will happen is, when this particular time cycle comes in, then these people will receive help. But how are they going to receive help? I'm trying to get to the point that I'm trying to make about a particular thing that's going to happen to you, even though we're going to have the spaceships getting busy to come back down and clean up this mess. But some things is getting ready to happen to you. Remember, in the Bible, it tell you in the last days, the dead will rise up from the grave. You're not talking about a physical body that decomposed. Who are the dead? The dead is you. The people who have lost all humanity by losing the knowledge of self. There's nobody on the earth that has done that. You understand? And my thing is we can't be chastised so much for a state that we don't know nothing about. That means if I go up and I'm being judged, let's say Osiris, the great judgment, and I'm being judged, he said, I'm judging you for this, what you did. I said, wait a minute, hold on. I'm exempt from that. He said, why? I said, well, number one, I stand before you an African in an African skin and an African body. So therefore, you got to judge me as being an African. But remember, I was in the Western Hemisphere brain dead. I didn't even know I was an African. So therefore, I'm a dead man. So how can a dead man be judged about something that he didn't know? You understand? So they're not talking about that type of judgment. But they did say in the last days, the people will rise up from the dead. Right? Okay, let's see. Now, it also says that in the occults, you see the reason why the white boys got to kill you. And I just got the news. You remember the brother, Sister Africa? I told you the brother that my roommate that just got the job out in the federal pen, he got on the job Monday and they told him this. They said that, and would verify my statement that I've been saying. They said that we, not only did President George Bush close down those 6 military bases, they have closed down others since then. He closed down 6 in '89 and came on TV and said, we now have space for dope dealers. Yeah, right. You created a dope. No, it ain't about no dope dealers. He closed down he closed down the facilities. Then they closed down some more because, you know, Fort McPherson was one on the list and Fort Benning and a couple other places. Remember that? But because of Sam Nunn being in Georgia and being up there, high up there, he saved the stuff because he buddy with Clinton and all that stuff. Now remember now, you know your boy Clinton is under the same policy as Bush. If I'm lying, didn't Clinton go back into Kuwait? Iraq? Didn't he go back into Somalia? Well, wait a minute, is this a different presidency? What is he doing the same policy as Bush, the man that they supposed to got out? We know now that he don't run nothing, just like Bush didn't run nothing. That's evidence that the man don't run anything, right? Now, my boy came home Monday. The first day was Monday. He said, you right. He said, you right about that King Alpha plan. He said, we got it in our briefing. He said that they got that. He said that all the doggone military installations, they have almost refurbished now, and they're getting ready to put black people in them. But they use the term, we're going to put prisoners in them. But it ain't about no doggone prisoners. They're going to put you in them. And if you think I'm lying, the Spirit always come to me. Let me tell you a little story. See, we got people in our own community. The old people used to call them born with a veil. Somehow we have gotten out of that, and now you use the word psychic, and you say that's some crazy stuff. Well, I got a sister. If we helped win the SGA president for fall 1991, spring 92, she won. We helped her win the SGA president. See, the sister, she did her year, and she's already since then she's graduated. This summer, back in June, had a friend named Dave Pitts in the Nation of Islam. He came in to visit me for like 2 weeks. And Dave used to go with her. You know, they used to see each other. And so they're going on. She called Dave up. She said, Dave, you in town? I got to talk to you. They say, okay, cool. But, you know, Dave, we sit down in the house. We talk consciously. She called back the next day. She said, Dave, look, you got to come. I got to talk to you. So Dave thinking, oh, man, she just want to get in, you know, want to just talk about some regular dates and stuff we had in the past. I ain't into that. She said, no, Dave, I want to talk to you. And Dave finally came over. She said, Dave, look, either I'm going crazy or my people think I'm going crazy. I done went to ITC, which is the seminary over here, and I've already talked to some of the preachers over there, and they're telling me, oh, that's just your old preacher. Just giving some old philosophical junk, because they don't know nothing. Just as ignorant as anything. You know, just dead. You know, they're telling us some old bull job about the Lord and all this kind of thing. Didn't know nothing. The sister name is, she graduated last year. What's your classification? 91. I don't know if you might not know her. I forgot the girl name. But anyway, she came over. She said, look, I've been having these doggone dreams, a series of dreams. Come to find out, she said, well, I've been partly psychic all my life, right? So I've been having a series of dreams. She said, one of the dreams I've been having, she said, these dreams I've been having, they've been consistent each night. She said, I'm seeing people that I know in the AU Center, because that's where I'm mostly focused in. These are the people I know personally. She said, I'm seeing people that I walk up on every day. They're inside these concentration camps, and they're all locked up. She said, the people are seeing European Jews, but I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing such and such, so-and-so. Brother go to Morehouse. Brother, sister go to Spelman. Brother go to Clark. Anything. She said, I'm shaking my eyes. When I shake my eyes, it'll go back to the Jews. And I'm trying to get clear, but it's keep flashing, giving me these pictures of what's going on. She said, now she speaks fluent Spanish. She said, but I see myself, me taking these people in almost like an underground railroad. I'm taking these people, and these people are escaping into Mexico. Well, come to find out, they had two underground railroads in the history. They had one that went up north, and they had one that escaped into Mexico. You see, she said, I'm seeing these things. She said, but I keep seeing this word, 1996, 1996. Well, I had another friend named Tracy that I talk about. I asked her, when would the King Alpha plan be taken out? And she said somewhere around 95. Well, you see, understand, when the girl is saw, she said it's when it's going to start. This is what this girl said. The girl Tracy. The sister from Clark was actually seeing the events when it had already happened, which was 1996. So we're talking about anywhere in between those times. You understand? Anywhere in between these times. Now y'all hold on, because I'm going to tell you what all this stuff is about. Then we get to the good part of this stuff now. You all hold on, because I'm going to tell you why it's got to go down this way. Number one, I asked Tracy, when is the currency recall? When they're going to recall all this money and give you this new money? They already did it in Russia, remember? And told them, I don't give a damn how much money you got. We got $35 for you. Oh, this new money. That old stuff you got ain't no good. Now, you already done checked the dollar bills and seen the strip in them from $5 on up. And see the strip on the left-hand side if you hold it up to the light. Which means when they recall that money, if you got that on you and try to hoard that money, they're going to lock you up. You see what I'm saying? Well, I said, when is the currency recall? She said anywhere from a year to 2 years. Well, the white boys came on, if you get you a shortwave radio, get you a shortwave radio. That's what the deal with. Because, see, they can't regulate shortwave transmission. So white people be on there talking all kinds of stuff. They got one thing where white boys just be counting the money. They counting down to the days when this money gonna go. In that particular, on the broadcast I heard one Saturday, they said currency recall is in 1 to 2 years. Well, I said, Tracy, when will the currency recall, or when they gonna get rid of this money? She said, I have anywhere between 1994 and 95. I said, that will be right, because see, how they gonna get you into concentration camps is, once they get rid of the money, you gonna free. Yeah. And that would justify them of putting you away, because you are a security risk. You understand how that goes? But help is on the way, but I'm letting you know what time it is. The way it is that way, the way it's that, the why it is. So we understand that this King Alpha plan, which anybody don't know what the King Alpha plan is. The King Alpha plan is a plan that was drawn up in the 1930s, in the 1970s, to, in case of an event, they would put black people in facilities to house them in concentration camps. Well, they already refurbished the ones in 1979. They refurbished the Japanese concentration camps that they put Japanese in here. And then in 1989, 10 years later, they refurbished and closed down all of the actual, they closed down the actual army bases, 6 of them. And then they recently closed down some more. You check? And that's what it is. Also, go to any city and see where the doggone dome stadiums and all your stadiums are built. They're built right in the black community. That's the first holding tank, and we got the dome stadium right in the black community. Wow. They could have built that dome stadium anywhere in Buckhead. They got enough land. They got enough money to buy enough land. You understand what I'm saying? They got enough parts over there in Buckhead that they can just turn into the dome stadium. Why would they build it right smack dab in the black community and right smack dab in the Atlanta University complex, which every year the lights go off in AU Center. The lights go off in there for a couple of hours. You understand how that goes? Right in the black community. Marcus Garvey said that they was going. He said that 40 years ago. That these doggone facilities that they building them in the black community. You understand how that goes now? So they're going to justify this thing. They're going to justify this thing by putting you in the concentration camps. Well, let's go on and see why they have to do this. We're going to the esoteric part of what's going on. Dealing with your own Kabbalah. This is one right up in here. It's where the earth, which is the lowest third dimensional density, is getting ready to be lifted up. When it gets lifted up, it's going into what you call Keter. This whole solar system is going to go into what you call a fourth dimension. But right in this fourth dimension is what you call the morgue zone. And the morgue zone is, if you ain't right, this morgue zone, which starts the whole Sirius factor, because all of this is the heaven world, is going to eliminate you. You understand? So this is called a morgue zone. So the white people are trying to get right spiritually so they can go into the morgue zone and have the right juice to go into the morgue zone. That's why Alistair Crawley, who had a dispute against Maine Blavatsky's group, he said that you all don't supposed to try to get to the Pleiades when you know that the retribution coming from Sirius, and it's coming from this morgue zone. So the main thing you got to try to do is to try to get hooked up spiritually. And to get hooked up spiritually is you got to tap into the actual, juice that's coming from Sirius, and you can have a guardian angel to give you the right juice. Well, when I was a little boy, I want to say this and we can get on back on track. When I was a little boy, I asked my mother, I said, look, I said, Mom, when they go out in space, since the sun is up there, it should be very light. She said, it should be, it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? But we know when you go out in space, you see nothing but darkness and stars. Not only that, the astronauts tell you that it is so black in space that you can't even see your hand, and the only thing you can see is the greater stars, like Sirius and a couple of other stars. Now, what does that mean? How can the sun be black? How can the sun not shine up there when it shines here? And it goes a little something like, in our Earth's atmosphere, you have electromagnetic force field, rays. And in those rays, even though you have this sun that is almost invisible in space, when it hit those rays and we're looking at it, it reflects the sun. You get that? But in actuality, you don't even see it in the cosmos. Get Devil Blair's book on his video. He has a video audio right in on Black Media called The Sun and the Moon, where he explains that. Well, the sun, in actuality, the light that we do see from the sun that is manifested through our electromagnetic force field is coming from Sirius. You see, our sun is nothing but a reflection of a greater sun, which is Sirius. So that actual power is Sirius. Since we are the smaller suns, we are reflections of a greater sun also. I just wanted to get that down to what's going on. You Christians, I want to put this in here on the UFO things. You Christians up in here, just remember that Jesus was an initiate in the Gnostic schools of Hemmitt. Would be the Essenes or whatever. He was an initiate of the Gnostic schools. Now, we don't understand that a lot of our stuff, there's Greek papyrus that also have this biblical story on it in Greece. This guy that wrote this book, Jean Duress, the secret books of the Egyptian Gnostics, is showing you that they dug up some papyrus, or they dug up some stuff in the 1940s, some actual tablets, and it's the teachings of Jesus Christ, which is coming from the Gnostic schools, which is another form of the Essenes or whatever, which is a later form of the Coptics, which was a later form of the Egyptian mystery school during the time of the Greco-Roman rule at that time. Now, in this papyrus, it says, the Greek papyrus and Coptic, under the impact of these words, the heavens are suddenly opened. Jesus is telling he took his followers on a certain plane. Jesus and his followers are immediately transported on a spaceship into space. In front of them, amid the winds, behold, ships of the sun and the moon, manned by fantastic beings. Manned by fantastic beings. They were saying that by him going to the actual mystery schools, he knew of this particular actual ritual he could do and could transport these motherships and all, and it's on a papyrus. I happen to own that papyrus, and I went through the ritual. And let's put it this way: I didn't see the mothership, but the next night, all my spiritual faculties started opening, and I've been on a spiritual evolution ever since. That was back in February. So, let you know that this stuff is real, and this is coming off a Greek papyrus. This over in that we don't even know anything about and all, and it's right there in one of the, I think it's in the Louvre in Paris. And this guy Jean Duress was a actual papyrologist, they call him, who studies the papyrus, both Egypt and actual Greek papyrus, Rome, Latin papyrus, and Egyptian papyrus, and he worked in the Louvre in Paris before he died. Now, what we're dealing with is this. The white lady told me that I met in the store, told me that this guy George Hunt Williamson also had some stuff that the actual people from Sirius gave him, called the transcript of the hierarchy. I'm going to make sure that this is available within the next couple of months. I'm going to write my book, and I'm damn sure going to have it in there, parts of it. Because I got a little bit of this stuff. I didn't bring it with me. But in this transcript of the hierarchy, it's one thing funny about this transcript of the hierarchy. I was reading the actual fragments that the woman gave me, because what she did is, what she does is she collects old UFO material from the 1950s. And George Hunt Williamson wrote this part, and I think it was unpublished. And she happened to get a hold to it because, she's white and she got the hookup. But she was telling me, she went to her car and she gave me a little bit of this. I was in the bookstore, and we started talking, and she gave me this thing. Now, in this particular transcript of the hierarchy that supposedly he got from these people who visited him from Sirius, the stuff that they was talking in this transcript of the hierarchy, the part I got was almost verbatim identical to the message of the black man, Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, two things we got going on here. Number one, either George Hunt Williamson copied the message to the black man, which wasn't even printed until the late 1960s, early 1970s. And the first time this was and I think the first time he even wrote this thing, I think was in the late 50s and up to 1961. Almost verbatim. Or either Honorable Elijah Muhammad got a hold of this stuff, which I doubt very seriously. Didn't even know about no George Hunt. You don't even know about it. I doubt very seriously. So obviously either it's that, either somebody was plagiarizing, or either the same thing that he got from the people from Sirius, the same thing that Honorable Elijah Muhammad got from his hookup from Master Farad Muhammad. Now remember, Master Farad Muhammad is a Sufi Muslim, which is the highest order that is existing on the earth today with the spiritual attainment. So you don't have the mystery school around now. You have the Yogi masters, the Tibetan masters, and you have the Sufi masters. The Sufis is one of the highest ones because they deal particularly with space. See, Freeman L said the Sufi master can travel all the way up into the black abyss and get kicked back out, whereas some of them are even scared to go into it. So they're very advanced. If you get the book, The Teachings of Master Farad Muhammad, it was out around 1990, and people didn't pay attention to it, and then the shrine didn't have it. Anyway, I had the Hawkins bookstore on Martin Luther King to order something, and they got in like 15 copies last week. But anyway, he was a Sufi Muslim, which the Sufis are nothing but, remember, this is how this goes. Now, let's look at this Muhammad situation. If he was giving them a new religion from them pagan people, why in the devil did the same God that the pagan people had, mainly the ancient Egyptians, which the origin was Sirius, would end up being the same doggone God that Muhammad worshiped, which is printed right in the Surah? If it wasn't nothing but a rehashment or a regenerated form of the same ancient Egyptian religion. That's all these religions books are. You are all saying that's pagan. Well, wait a minute, I want to know something here. If this is in pagan, if you ever check the word, pagan just means the people. Look up the etymological root of the word. It just means the people. Them people over there, them Africa. You understand? Don't mean nothing about no many God. Get E. Wallace Bud's book from Fetish to God in ancient Egypt, 1935 before he died, which he translates your Book of the Dead and Osiris, Egyptian Resurrection, and all these books. And also the two ancient ancient Egyptian religion books, gods of the Egyptians. He said before he died, he said, I printed the gods of the Egyptians 2 volumes 15 years ago. Now, he's in 1935 before he died, and he said, I was wrong the whole time. He said, I thought it was a polytheistic religion, and it never was. It was one God the whole time. They call it the hidden God, the one God, or the one. And all the other gods you see is nothing but a manifestation of the same God. Isn't that what Allah is supposed to be? Well, he got 99 attributes. Well, in actuality, because this was a scientific system and not really a religious system, the mystery system was an educational system that actually shows you the attributes. You put them together and it represents one God, God one. Male and female principle, the yin and the yang. You understand how that goes? Well, so what we have with Muhammad in actuality, all he did was, if Gabriel said, well, it's time for you to get this thing simplified for them nomadic people over there that don't know what time it is, we got to simplify this because they can't deal with the ancient Egyptian mystery system, which is highly advanced, and we'll give it to them broken down in these terms: the one God and the God one, which means field of current means Allah, which means Sirius. Now that's right in the surah. I told some Sunni Muslims this. If we're talking about some lies, well, what you got to deal with what the Quran say. Now tell me the Quran wrong. Right in there where the Quran says that this is the God of Sirius. And also, if you get the book, what's my man's name? He wrote the book Stars. One book on astronomy. You need to get it. Learns more about the mythology of the actual stars. It's called Star Names, Their Lure, and Their Meaning by Richard Hinckley Allen. And in the book he said that Muhammad's father was a Cushite Arab who worshipped Sirius. Muhammad used to worship Sirius also, but he told his followers not to worship it because he understood that his followers, they got into astronomy, they would be dumbfounded. Based on the nomadic people that was at that time of Arabia, but you had the blue black man still in Arabia that knew the sciences. Well, when the religion, not being a different religion, all you Muslims, when it went into the phase of Islam in the same fact, because the word Allah is much more ancient than Islam, the word is, when it went into the phase of Islam, then the actual Cushite Arabs, which Cushite means it came from, the Cushites come from Ethiopia. So that whole land was Ethiopia, greater Ethiopia, lower Ethiopia, whatever. Those people took the actual ancient Egyptian mystery system and housed it into the Islam, and this is where you get your Sufi Muslims from. Now, Master Farad Muhammad was a Sufi Muslim. Now you understand how that goes? So this is how, this transcript of the hierarchy from Sirius is verbatim. Number one, it says in there that the great chastisement won't mess with the rest of Europe because it's saving America for itself. America is the most evil out of all. Now what is a white man in 1961 talking that kind of junk about America? It just didn't happen. It wasn't into the hippie society where the white man just realized that, hey, maybe them black people was right all the time. Maybe something is messed up with America. And they didn't really realize it until after they killed Kennedy. Check. You see, and that didn't happen until 1963. The transcript of the hierarchy, supposedly what he received was late 50s up to 1961. But in it says that this is the most evil country on earth before they even portrayed the type of evils that they would later on do in the 60s and the 70s. Greater, they'd already done it when they started by killing the Indians and stealing us. You see what I'm saying? That's why when I went to the prison, I said, y'all don't have to worry about being in jail. I said, some of you all feel inferior because you in here. I said, but really when you think about it, how can a man who stole you put you in jail for stealing? How can an international bandit who have stole you, right, and stole the land that you sitting on, tell you anything about moralism? How can an international bandit put anybody in jail who has killed literally over billions of people? You understand what I'm saying? If we count the amount of people that he killed, including his own, it would outweigh him 7 times over. He can't put you, how could he even talk about spiritual moralism? But in the transcript of the hierarchy, it talks about some of the same things verbatim that you see in the message to the black man. Now, going back, some of this stuff is supposed to be coming from the great white brotherhood, which means the Christ mind. But there are some white people in the great white brotherhood. There's a guy by the name of Saint Germain, which is a white boy. But don't get wrong, he did the right stuff and he went on up. You see, they said that the Moors in Spain, when they knew before they fell from Spain, they put this white boy in to try to bring the spirituality to the West, to try to tame the doggone Westerners and try to get them on the God path. As well as all your yogi masters in the early 20th century came to the West to try to teach white people and get them out of their savageness so they can have enough stuff to go and get spiritual. In other words, give them enough rope to hang themselves so it won't be no excuse when it's all over that they didn't have a chance. And believe me, white people far more into a lot more spiritual stuff than we are. They got it going on. We in church, but they in all that, but they supposed to be in that. You supposed to be in the condition you into because you the chosen people. We're going to get into the science of that. So, going on. The Dogon talks about the Siggy ceremony. It's done every 60 years. They do it in every 60 years to make sure that the last group that was around most of them would be died off and wouldn't be able to see it. So they do it every 60 years. It's funny about this date, because the first time I got the date, I got 1996, because I saw an actual TV show, and I was listening to the TV show, and by the time I got into actually dating this stuff with the Sirius Siggy ceremony, that the white boy talks about in his books, but don't ever print. They don't print no dates. I had to remember back, and I remembered 1996. Well, what happened was, because they didn't print the dates, but they slipped and put this because it was an older TV show that came out in the 70s, In Search Of. So when I saw it, it took me a year later to see it again, and it was 1997. Now, let me explain this. The last time they did the Siggy ceremony was 1937. When they did it, when they came in, when the white anthropologists Griot and Dittelin came in, who wrote the Pale Fox and Conversations with Olga Demele, when they came in, they just thought it was a religious ceremony or a funeral. They didn't know until 15 years later, after being inducted into the Dogon Society, that it was actually a ceremony that is actually heroes the birthday of Nomo, which is the actual crucified Savior, the same as you got with Jesus Christ, Quetzalcoatl, Krishna, Osiris, or Osar, all of this. We got 16 crucified Saviors, 17 with Nomos. And we tripping on one. You understand what I'm saying? Saying he is the light. Yeah, he is the light. But it's an esoteric light, and you the light. You understand? Now, so they did it in 37. 60 years from that is 97 on schedule. It heroes the birthday of old Nomo, when things supposed to be get going. Okay? Which is, in fact, the Heroes Gamos or what we would call the 90,000 year holy reunion. The 90,000 year holy reunion is what it is. Now what happens? I'm going to go into this judgment now. Hold me on this heroes gamos because it's very key. It's not just even talking about the constellation, but it's also talking about something in you. Hold me on that. Now, dealing with this judgment thing that we stopped on. Next part of the judgment is the goddess Sekhmet. Two folds. One, the goddess Sekhmet represents you. A lion people, which means the lion, which means strength. Which Haile Selassie in the rosters is trying to tell you when they say the Lion of Judah. Which the Lion of Judah is actually, if you trace it back, which is the first god, was the goddess Sekhmet. But Sekhmet is also the goddess Kali in India, which has a cycle, which is the black goddess Kali that has her black cycle. And the next goddess is the goddess Hecate, which is the Greek goddess, which is all the same goddess, just translated different. Sekhmet has a cycle. And when this cycle comes in, she is the goddess of storms, earthquakes, heat waves, floods. Get it? What you having? Heat waves, floods. Her cycle came in around 1979, 1990. And between 79, you had an earthquake in San Francisco. 1990, you had Hurricane Hugo. You understand? Actually, her cycle might have came in the middle of the 80s, because you had that drought out in back in 86. You had that drought out in the Midwestern states had a drought, and then we had a drought, and they had to help us, and we helped them, and that whole thing. So the preliminary stuff started happening in the mid 80s, but her cycle is in around 1989. You had the earthquake in San Francisco, Hurricane Hugo, and now you got this whole thing that went on with what's that Mississippi thing, that Mississippi River thing, and then in South Carolina you had Hugo, and then they got hit again because they got a slave port right down there, so you know they got hit again. They got the one in Hugo. They got they got the heat wave went over there. They don't have no crops this year. You see, I'm from South Carolina. The tobacco is burnt up to nothing. You ain't got nothing. You see what I'm saying? Crackers, white boys say, hey, this is my last year farming and all, you know. So that's what her cycles are. Now we understand that there's a 120 years cycle in between earthquakes with the Indian prophecies. Delbert Blair told you about the Indian prophecies, and some of you might have bought those papers, but if not, I still have some of the papers with the earthquakes and all that, and I'll Xerox some. But there's a 120 something year cycle. Now, your farmer's almanac is based off the Indian prophecies, no scientific. It's based off the Indian prophecies all the time, because the Indian prophecies is 100% correct. Check. Now, you have a 220-something year cycle, which is an earthquake cycle, which is due to trigger any minute now. South Carolina's on the list. Memphis, Tennessee is on the list. Ohio is on the list. Boston is on the list. Now, what Boston got an earthquake? You know California is right up under the water. As a matter of fact, if you go, we're going to get some other charts in. You can go and buy one at Avalon. We're going to get some at Black Media. They got the charts of the New America. California is gone. New Orleans and all Texas, all that's gone and stuff. Georgia is here because Georgia is the new Atlantis, which they're building these buildings up here to feel that current in, called Syriac architecture, that they got off of papyrus in the British Museum, which they're trying to get a certain amount of current here. That's why you have the 96 Olympics and the Super Bowl and all this stuff. That's Custer's last stand. They got plans for Atlanta. That's why all your Illuminati people are moving right here to Atlanta. You got the CDC, you got Emory University that's just getting ready to get a $1 billion Egyptology program and stuff. Even what's the name just got them an Egyptology program. Memphis State, and they just built that pyramid down there in Memphis. And they just had the Napoleon exhibit this summer where they had on there, see everything Napoleon stole except the country, other than countries. And they had the Napoleon exhibit and all, and they got a big old statue of Ramesses right in front of the pyramid and all that. That Hosni Mubarak and them had a plaster cast made from Egypt and sent over there. And the reason why is a sister there that told me that Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he came in the 60s, he said that the black man will rise up in this point. Also, you have the halls of Amenta, which means your subterranean worlds, And in your subterranean worlds, you can go down one part, or you can go down underneath the earth in Memphis, Tennessee, and you'll end up in Memphis, Kemet. You can walk all the way from here to Memphis, Egypt, or Kemet, and all. So that's called the halls of Amenta, or the desert of Set. So that's a significant no. So there's a whole lot of stuff that's going on, and that's what's happening in the actual cycles that's going on. Now, the goddess Kali is called the dark goddess. Same person, Hemmitt, which is Greek. The goddess Kali is called the black goddess, or the black cycle. We are in that now. Not only the earthquake, but the white boy knows he got to start locking you up. Shit, this is what we getting to. He got to start locking you up because he understands that the black cycle brings on some stuff called the black substance. Okay. Smithsonian Institute magazine, 1993, June. Talks about some stuff in astronomy. Right in here. Let's get this out. What is it? I didn't say they don't know what it is. Well, I know what it is, and I know what it's all about. This is why you're going crazy. This is why you're having all kinds of things that's going on. It says the black substance, or the dark matter. Dark matter is strange stuff. It's all around you, but you can't see it. It's wishing through your ears, but you can't hear it. It is arguably the most important material of the universe, but until recently, we scientists had no idea what it is. But whatever it is, it will decide the fate of the universe. Now we're getting into some fire on what's getting ready to go down. The black substance. That ain't all. That's the phase of it. What is the black substance? It's brought in through the goddess Kali. They say it's been around. And as a matter of fact, to let you know it's all around you, if you can see it, you can pass this around. Well, I want to show you this picture. You can pass it around, but look at this picture, what they got here on this black stuff. Now they got it all coming down and stuff. Now look at it. What it is the stuff that holds the planet in order up there. Okay? Get a little funky here, because they had just half of it. And right here, they show a white boy sitting in his living room with the stuff going on through him, because he said he can't see. He passes it around, stuff is going on through him, but he can't see in the living room. Now, so it's all around us. Remember I talk about the spiritual quickening, where we're going through a spiritual quickening. If you're thinking positive or you're thinking conscious, you're quickening this way to the level of God. If you're thinking negative, you're quickening that way. As a matter of fact, that's the electromagnetic current that's in the universe, and if you reject it, they say this is why you're having a lot of heart attacks within the last 2 years, because of this electromagnetic current in the universe. You see what I'm saying? People think so now, this black substance is all around. Well, what is it? It is the stuff that holds the universe in order. Is what this stuff is. It's called the dark matter. Now, what is the dark matter, and what does this stuff do? And number one, how does this stuff relate to us? Okay. Number one, the black cycle, or the black substance, will, let me read this part right out of the book. Good little book. The spirit came and gave me that Kundalini West book by what I said her name was Anna Marie Carlton, old white woman. She might be dead now, but the spirit say get that book. And so some say get this book, and I got this book. I've been planning for this lecture for months. Some say get this book right now, and I opened the book up, and boom, all the stuff I needed. Few little keys is in the book. Listen. Every 12,000 years, men on earth are recipients of a golden age, which was the result of sequential polarization of powers experienced in every 2,500 years time cycle. at the end of 12,000 years, mankind developed in the Earth solar system. The great sun, our solar sun Sirius, unites with the sun of this entry into the solar system. It lasts for a period of 2,000 years. So we might have been under this thing because we're getting ready to get out of this. It says, in this time, men and women both bring the yin and the yang polarity balance together in the inner consciousness. They experience God consciousness. Okay, now, and they balance the soul and the spirit together. So now we are coming into the point where, as in the cycles, you got a lot less sexism, not just for black people, but also for white people. Now, it's all based on this particular Sirius uniting with the actual sun. Now, what does this mean? The goddess Ramesses said that we are born out of segment. What does that mean? He said that we're born out of segment. Being born out of segment is this. Segment has a particular gene. See, when they give you that lion goddess segment, or you see that lion of Judah, they're not talking about they're actually talking about a people with a particular gene, and the lion being the strongest thing in the universe, or in the animal kingdom, which they show you the Sphinx, the god who, that's in the middle of the world in Egypt, or the middle of the earth in Hemmitt, which means Horus on the horizon, Har market. Now, being born out of segment means those people that are born with a certain particular gene. You know what we're talking about. A gene of strength. Well, we're the strongest people on the planet. We went through literal hell through slavery, and we're going through literal hell now, and we still exist. They had something called psionics, where the white boy go into the jungle, take a picture of some messed up forest, go back to the doggone, you go back to the laboratory, put some insecticide on the picture, go back and fly back on one half of the picture, go back and fly back over the forest, and the part that they put the insecticide on the picture is cleared up, and the part that they didn't is still messed up. So the white boy, you can get Devil Blair talks about this. The white boy said, hey, this is a good war chemical. So they started using it on people. And it worked on everybody, but guess who? Us. You see what I'm saying? So it was back to the drawing board for them. Now, this idea of a race of lions exists from the Sirius complex, from some other time frame. There are deeper implications that with the genes we have inherited from our Sirius forebearers, who are responsible for the growth and the development of this earth as which we live, each with manifest via personal groups of racial genetic codes. But for those who carry the Syrian gene, the cat-lion crystal will be the strongest. That's the reason why you see that big particular Sphinx, half lion, half male, or half female. Basically, Sphinx is a female because the Greek word gentrix for that is a female gentrix. The Greek word for Sphinx means female. It's a female word, the etymological root. So now you have that balance of what man and lion is actually talking about, are actual people. And the actual Masons tell you that the black man is buried in a shallow grave. Where's that shallow grave? That shallow grave is in Hemmitt. And the black man was buried up to his head at one time in dust and dirt until they dug the Sphinx out. That's the black man, the god who, that is over in Hemmitt. And that's what the actual lion means. Now, let's go on. Try to take you into some things, because I know you might say this boy is rambling, but I'm trying to set you up for what's going on now. Let's go on with this. Isis, Horus, and Sekhmet. Book called The Lion People by Murray Hope. It says Incarnate Messages of the Future. Murray Hope is out of London, England. Remember, the white people is write all the good stuff about you. They don't live in this country. So, you know, they don't live in this country. So the people that they're writing for, they're set. They don't have a great body of black people living there, so they can go ahead and get into all this information. But then again, in this country, the white people also know too. It says the interpretations of Isis, Osiris, Osar, the episodes relate to a cosmological drama. Isis means the mother, which means earth, being microcosmically impregnated by the dead Osiris, the seeding of the earth, giving birth to Horus, who is mankind, which means black people. Now let me explain what's going on here. Osiris means the dead black people. That's us, dead in the hells of North America. Isis comes to save. She comes to save Osiris. Remember, in the Osirian drama, Isis comes in and she saves her husband. She brings him the egg, the cosmic egg. You got that? On earth, which is nothing but your black mama, black grandmama, and here's the black man, where he has the phallus, which, remember now, his phallus was cut off, thrown into the Nile and ate up by the acacia fish and not the acacia fish, ate up by, what was the name of those fish? The catfish, I think, wasn't it? Ate up by the catfish. It was ate up by the catfish, and so this actual bird had to come and from a seed from his phallus and actual impregnate her. Now, the seed that was impregnating her, if you get Laola Africa, he tell you that in actuality, the reason why you should only use your semen for impregnation and not use it all the time for actual sexual pleasures and try to learn how to do what they call ejaculation, where you take the semen and run it up through the chakras and open up yourself spiritually, which is even a better feeling, they say, if you get that thing going on the right way, if you get the science on that. The reason why they say that is because his thing is the seed that comes, that's in the semen or in the scrotums, or also in the woman, her seed, or these two seeds in the eggs or whatever, is not from you. It's from the cosmos. It's from the ancestors. Now Osiris is dead, so his seed that comes is not coming from Osiris, it's coming from Sirius. Real esoteric of what's going on with us. Now, he has, so now this is nothing but a story of mankind, black mankind. Then she has a child, Heru or Horus, or Heru, or Horus. Who is Horus? Horus is you. It carries the lion gene, because the lion is the goddess segment is also from Sirius. The Horus is you. Now if you translate Horus, Horus is who? Horus is your Christ figure, K-I-S-T, correct? K-I-E-S-T, correct? Which is your Christ figure. So in actuality, the esoteric cult tells you that in actuality, Christ is not just one actual figure that lived, that did live, but in actuality, Christ represents a race of people. You understand? Represents a race of people. Who are those race of people? You are those race of people. You dead, but you still are those people. Now, remember I told you about the concentration camps, so why they got to put you in the concentration camp? Listen. Book by the name of Timothy Wild. It's called Dolphins, Telepathy, and Underwater Birthing. And you know in the Dogon epic, they show you the fish, Nomos, who's going to take on, this is a representation of this fish. This same fish died and sacrificed for the evil brother Opus, the pale fox. But this fish is called Nomos. The fish represents Christ's figure because he has the same crucifixion type Savior, 17 of them. The esoteric knowledge behind this fish. And the sign of Pisces. Right? Now, believe you me, I'm not sitting up here and running no bulljive to you. There's things in the universe that you don't know nothing about. So therefore, we should not challenge things that seem strange, but research them. You understand? Because the white boys, they don't argue about this at all. Now this cat, Timothy Willie or Wiley, I think he has worked with the big old aquariums with that marine land and all that bullshit for years. And with the research, knows what he's talking about because the Dogon told him so. The Dogon says in the drama that when Nomo comes back, he will come back and he will rise up from the water with the ancestors of man. And when he rises up from the water with the ancestors of man, he will subdue his evil brother Ogu. Now, they've been fishing for doggone tuna for years. And they know dolphins got caught up into the net. But all of a sudden, the dolphins are getting caught up into the net. They're saying in actuality, the dolphins, the dolphin is the smartest thing on the planet. Not the dog, not the monkey, but the dolphin. The dolphin's intelligence and your intelligence are almost about the same. You understand? The people in your marine biology know this. Dolphins are about the same. What this is a representation of an actual dolphin, as well as a representation of the Christ figure, which is you. Now follow the story. They said that Nomo sacrificed. He sacrificed and forgave the sins or whatever. The same story as the Jesus thing, sacrificed for his evil brother Ogu, but he would rise up and he would come back into something that looks like this, which is nothing but the Dogon's representation of a spaceship, about a couple thousand years old and all right. The Dogon, so he would rise up. But also they're showing you that also that this Nomo figure is actually a dolphin, and all of a sudden they started getting caught into the nets and started sacrificing themselves for the whole world. Now they've been shopping, they've been fishing for tuna for years, and all of a sudden now they talking about you got to get this dolphin-free tuna. The dolphins are the smartest thing. Their intelligence is like, they can even take it aboard nest. They've been doing it for all the other years. All of a sudden they're getting caught up. They're actually sacrificing themselves for a reason. It's showing you the time of the hour of what's going on. So the devil blessed that also to protect the sea. They got one big old monster, a couple of monsters who's going to come up and tear up all kinds of stuff to protect the sea. For the people that can't do it, others who can't do it. And you know that the Loch Ness monster is nothing but one of those monsters, or a couple of those monsters that got caught up on top and couldn't get that down. And also too, the Egyptians talked about in Jeremiah's taking off the papyrus that when the Greeks came in and tried to build Alexandria, every time they would try to build it, this monster would come up from the sea every night to tear it down. And the Egyptian priests knew what was going on. The Egyptian priests knew that this actual building had to go on because they knew that they were going to fall, and they had to house the information to the Greeks, to the Christians, so we can get it on the other side. And Brighton can still have it. So if the white boy didn't have some kind of doggone spiritualism, you talk about being savage. Some of the things that saved us through the Quakers and all this, because they had a little bit of doggone moralism. And this grand cycle is not by mistake. So don't look at, sometimes you can't even look at this when these white people saying, the white boy is a necessity. He's doing what he got to do. And he's doing other steps to save himself all the time. But this monster used to tear down the Egyptian people what was up. They put up some papyrus on some slates or some stones or whatever, some hieroglyphs, and the monster didn't come back. So now, they're sacrificing themselves and all. But now this is the key. In this book, as well as the other ones, dealing with the Dogon mystery, it also said that there will be a sacrifice and the dolphins would rise up or they would come up out of the water. But it also said they will return the ancestors of man. You know, the dolphins are intelligent, and the dolphins are actuality. I was always wondering why these white people kept saying, well, the dolphins come from Sirius. They're arguing this too. They always give you told me you read all this stuff. Because they're talking about Nomo the fish, the most smartest animal on the planet. Now, they would return with the ancestors of man. Real key. Well, look. Let's check this out. In 1995, a new race of fourth-dimensional humans will design a new reality. Remember now when I'm talking about these esoteric time dates, you give or take a few years, 95, 97 or whatever. You understand? A new reality. This is a spiritual congress. Talking about us. The star people will be awakened. That's you. Y'all bear with me. I'm going to tell you how this process goes in a few minutes. The star people will be awakened. The white boy knows he's writing this stuff, and it's right in the same book. Dolphins and telepathy and all underwater birthing. The star people will be awakened and will be acknowledged. The design of a new human race comes from Sirius through lots of difficulties. Watch the white boy. So see, the whole thing I've been trying to get you to see is, and I'll show you this in a few minutes, if Osiris or Osar or Offset said their origin of Hemmitt and also from Sirius, and Sirius is black. And they are black gods. Osiris is called the god of the perfect black. Isis is the black Madonna and child, Horus being the actual forerunner of Christ. Christ is the code for a group of people. They talk about black people. Let's go for that again. A new 1995, I want to say it again for the record, 1995, a new race of fourth-dimensional humans will begin a new reality. A spiritual congress, which means the government, the law to judge. Maya, Osiris being a black god that's going to rise up, and he's going to what? He's going to be the judge, right? A new people, the spiritual congress, a star people, will be acknowledged and will be awakened. That's us. We are the star seed. I'm getting ready to go into the seed in 1 minute. Through the design of a new human race comes from Sirius. It's not talking about an actual race that's coming literally from Sirius, even though we're going to have differences. It's not talking about that. We're talking about a doggone people who see it from Sirius, and the things don't wake up them. We'll keep. Remember, I just told you that the Bible says in the last days, the people will come from the dead, right? It says in the Bible, when Christ comes, the dead will wake up. These are esoteric codes. Remember I told you that the Bible was written by the Kabbalah, the Kabbalistic, that is talking about the breakdown of the body? So what are they talking about? They're not talking about literal, not talking about the labial history. They're talking about actual esoteric meaning, the breakdown of what's in you. You got to get this, because this is why the white man going to take you out in a few years. Now, let's go on and let's see on what's going on. You remember I read something I said about the Sabdu and Isis, the Heroes Gamos, the 90,000 year holy reunion, when Isis and Horus reunites. Isis represents Sirius, or Sothis, or Sept, or Sabdu. Isis. Horus represents Sabdu, which is you, the Christ people. And I'm going to explain the science of Christ when we get down to what's inside your own bodies. Horus is you. It says when Horus and Isis meet, that means when Sirius comes and unites with the sun. The sun also meaning the sun of the solar system. I always spit when I ain't got no water. The sun of the solar system. And it also means the sun in the people that was the original people on the planet. Check. Okay, now y'all with me? Because it's getting real good. And the white boy knows it. Now, it says when they reunite, it's going to be a 90-year holy reunion. Remember I said one time during the time of the Atlantic, there was nothing but all gods that ruled, and and they called Ethiopia, which was the foothills of on down. We're talking about great Ethiopia. We come from the beginning of the Nile, what Udepa says, at the beginning of the foothills of the mountain of the moon, where the god Hapi dwells. Well, remember that we know that is the first archetypal birthplace Mount Kilimanjaro, where they found the first human fossil, right? Now, the first human fossil. Now, so now, what's going on is this. Now, it says, the Heros Gamos. Horus represents the pineal gland, which is the spiritual center in your brain. Behind that is the womb. The pituitary gland is represented by Isis. They say now, when Jesus comes back, or when Christ comes back, the people will be dead. The dead people will wake up. Now, the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, the spiritual centers in your brain, when activated, you get the Christ mind. Understand? Which means, what's the problem we got with black people home? If black people are only what we are. If we only knew who we were, all of us, we would be saved, because all of us would be down together. Right? You understand? When this unites, you have the Christ mind, which means everybody's at one accord. Why they gotta lock you up? Check, everybody on? Okay now. This is the point I'm trying to make. Now, let's look at this. But somehow, the magical system has filtered down through the ages. Many reliable psychics, mystics, firmly subscribe the idea of a special gene. Or a personalized time capsule programmed to acknowledge the old ones who came from the Sirius system centuries ago. This gene has been passed down through generations to the present day. The Syrian genetic stream will stream. A new magical school has emerged. It could call mind magic or through thought magic, operates purely through the mental level, does not rely upon forms of the physical or the practical reality. Now, what it is saying is this, that there's a genetic code in you, a time capsule, that's triggered to go off at a particular time, in the particular time of a time cycle. This is what the Bible been talking about when Jesus comes back. Take it or let it alone. Now, it says that, remember I was telling you about the Lyrans, the people from Lyra said, lying, because ain't no Lyra people ever them. They said that we had plans for this earth, but Sirius got here first. So now Sirius was tied to developing this earth. Remember I talked about that. Whatever happened to the Syrian group that interfered with the plans of the Lyrans? By interfering, they became tied to development of earth. They have always had many tricks up their sleeve. Now these are the white people in the esoteric community that know the science, because remember, they've been studying it for the last 140 years. And they have been acting accordingly. And most of the people that's been studying this stuff is in your governments that determine the fate of you every day. Check? Okay. When it says they always had tricks up their sleeves, in this case, they got the last laugh. Talking about the people from Sirius got the last laugh on them, the white people. Call it Lyra or that bull jive all. They got the last laugh. When working with the Lyran groups, which is a lie, doing the genetic program, they inserted a latent DNA code within the human cells. This code is triggered to accelerate when the vibration occurs, when the vibration evolves to a new spirituality. As the earth accelerates towards the self-awareness of the fourth density, which is the fourth dimension. Remember, this earth is being lifted up from Malakoff, is going to Kether in the Kabbalah, which is the greater you, which is the greater temple, you are the smaller temple. When the earth, okay, look. as the earth accelerates towards the self-awareness of the fourth density, which is accelerating presently. Got that? And occurring presently. This code is activated. Once activated in the human race, yeah, you're right. Well, who human? Who human? We disregard the whole thing about the devil blabber. Let's use another word for that. Who are the real people they're trying to say? The real root people of this planet. The root people unwinds its limited vision like a coil. The kundalini rises up, what they mean, until the experience of all things become visible. You remembering all the way back. We're the only people that can remember all the way back to the time when we got here. Y'all with me? It was their way of allowing humanity to eat from the tree of life. You get it? Are y'all with me? You understand what's going on? You see, the whole thing is, we can meditate on our own. The people that's aware of what's going on. You're supposed to be meditating, or you're going to start after the night, because there's another role which you're going to play. But how are our people going to save themselves? Now look. We can talk all this we want. We done went through the ASCAC conference. We done went through all of this stuff. And we know that black people, no matter what you give them, they ain't going to do a doggone thing. Let's face it. We ain't going to organize. We ain't going to make no money. We're not going to do this. And just like Honorable Elijah Muhammad say, if you get up some guns, it's going to be like suicide up against the man that's the master of destruction. He is the master of that. And you think you're going to go up against the master? How do you fight God? How do you fight the devil? You become God. You don't become more like the devil, because you'll lose that war. That's like committing suicide. So if it ain't economics, if it's not through actual learning the actual history, because we still the big fools, because we take that and become arrogant with it and use that for something, like I said before. So when we get around white people and they start talking about England, the Queen of England, I'm from this thing, you can say, well, I was from Egypt, I was from Africa, the great Songhai Empire, and all of this. But you ain't gonna do nothing with it. You understand? Because that is the first thing to get you to the door. First you gotta wake up and find man know thyself, which is the knowledge of self. Then once you go to the door, there's another thing. You see, that's in the temple walls, man know thyself. But remember now, they were back in Egypt. They already knew this. They didn't go to this land to lose the knowledge of self. So what were they talking about? The man know thyself, the really thing, man know thyself is what? To know God. And know that you are God. You get that? So now, what it means is that we're not going to do none of that. Only thing going to happen to us is face it. For you can do all that, because you in here now. You know what time it is. Most of you been struggling and being ridiculed, or you still talking that black stuff. All of this stuff here. You know, but we are a small group, almost like the 5%. You see what I'm saying? We got 95% of people deaf, dumb, and blind. We're not talking about the 85, 95, because we're talking about all black people. 5%, that's nothing. That doesn't exist. So that means, yeah, you can do it, but you're supposed to be meditating and getting to your godhood and starting tonight. But the other people, they ain't going to do it. Let's face it. They're not going to do a doggone thing. They're going to do everything that white man tell them to do and justify it. You see what I'm saying? Now, getting to you. Well, what's going to open up? How is it going to open up? And why is it going to open up into us and not others? All right? Let's do this. Now, are y'all all right? Okay, let's do it. Okay. The black right is connected with black Osiris. Black skin. Black Osiris is the highest degrees of the mysteries of the initiation in the ancient Egyptian religion. The ultimate secret of the mysteries of Isis is the black rite. In Hemmitt, the black rite or the mysteries of Isis was the highest degrees, because the mysteries of Isis went beyond this realm and went up into the space and into the realm of the great mother, which is the supreme being, the great mother, which means the creator force. Male and female, the creator force. Everything that creates is a feminine principle. Well, the mysteries of Isis explain her dead husband Osiris, which has already been risen And the child Horus has got to get to that point where he has to be risen by a sacrifice. Well, damn it, you sacrifice also. We ain't got to talk about the dolphin. You understand, Chip? Now, the black rite is the highest part, but it's governed by a black god. Well, is this black god they're talking about an actual black god? They're talking about black skin. The spirit showed me something last week when I was reading a passage out of some esoteric book where it talks about the roots of the red temple and the black temple. Y'all bear with me. The red temple is the sacrovertebrate, which is called the beast of Babylon, which is the esoteric term of the goddess Sekhmet, whose color is red, who is in the south. Sirius rises from the south when it first rose. It rises from the south. So we talk about microcosm, macrocosm, microcosm. It is the base of the Kundalini. It is the red temple. The black temple is called the black sun, which is Sirius. Astronomically in you is talking about the actual black substance, the substantia nigra, the black stuff called melanin, which produces black skin, but this is only the actual identification of the outside manifestation of something greater. You check? So the black temple and the red temple coming out of Hemmitt and coming out of the African Vodun, which is voodoo, which is Vodun, and actually when they talk about the divine horseman getting on you and riding you, that's actually current and traffic coming from Sirius, and actually archetypal energy, spiritual energy coming from Sirius to give you a divine awakening if you know what's going on. You see what I'm saying? So the red temple, but see, it said the black sun is what it is, which is Sirius. But the spirit came to me, and I read it for 2 nights, and it said black skin, and I'm like, oh man, that's it. That's black people. And then after 2 nights I got up, and it said the black sun. I said, damn, that's the spirit. It's showing me some esoteric things about us. Okay? Now, let's go on. Let's try to. Now, the black rite of Osiris is on Sirius. If you're in the mystery system, and you're being initiated into the black rite, which is the last degree of the mystery system. By being initiated into the black rite, there was a greater initiation of a people that was in a greater fraternity on Sirius, which is Keva, which is Keva, get it? And you down here. You trying to get here. So when you initiated as man by rising all the spiritual faculties, you are now in one with a fraternity on Sirius called the black people. But not only black people, because skin don't have nothing to do with it in one aspect. Skin just to know so you can depict who those people, the children of Nu, is. But it also means a black spiritual awareness on the inside. Now, let's go into melanin. Remember Richard King, Harold Bourne, Hunter West, all of them explain that the blackness of melanin, the carbon of melanin, is the same stuff that is in black holes in space, which is the primordial substance which is in space. The same stuff that is in those black holes is right in you, the voice of God, the medulla oblongata, which is at the base of the skull, which is in you, which makes you black, but it means also on the inside of you, you are also black around this stuff, and when this stuff ignites, it brings light. Light is where it comes from, the darkness of space. It rests in you. Well, look, let's try to wind this stuff up now. Go into some black holes right quick. This is the point now. The Akash, that's you. The Akash means the black egg, which contains invisible light. Being identified with light, the observer necessarily carries it within him. Talking about you carrying something within you. I ain't got a black book up here. None of them black. I showed you one book on Honorable Elijah, Master. All this stuff coming from the white people. So don't call me no racist, because I'm trying to give you some stuff to liberate you. You understand? But the white boy knows they don't argue with it. That's why they got to lock y'all behinds up. See y'all in the concentration camps. He necessarily carries it within him. It sucks it within the invisible light which is in darkness. Today, we conceptualize the formula as the ultimate black hole. Now, when they talk about the black hole, they're talking about the same stuff that's within you. The whole devouring light, the chronozone, which is a metaphysical term, therefore is supreme ultimate vampire, which means consciousness. The word L-U-X, lux, which is an Aleister Crowley term. He gave you these words that came about of Latin, because he didn't want to go out and tell you what all this stuff was. It means melanin, what it means, damn it. Lux must at last be engulfed into consciousness, nux. Now let me explain that. In this way alone, it is the darkness undying. We can't die. We got darkness because we are part of the universe, the mother newt, which is the primordial substance in the universe. Remember that I tell you, the black substance, they said in the book, they said that black substance, the stuff that's only seen today, is the stuff that holds the planets together, which holds the planets from sinking out of orbit. They thought it was just space, but it's actually some real stuff. The same stuff that's in the black holes and the same stuff that's in you, in melanin. Get African Origins of Biological Psychiatry in the other book by Carol Bowens that explains what melanin is. This is all these people talking about. They're going through the metaphysical a long way to tell you something that we should be knowing in the short way. We had this whole melanin conference for 4 or 5 years, and they understood the function, what it did to the black body, but they couldn't tie it into liberation because they didn't study the occult. But Richard King did, because some of his book came from Aleister Crowley's teaching. He got a book called Quabalic 777, which I'll explain in a minute. Which is a mathematical numbers of the breakdown of the universe and the body, which Richard King got some of his work dealing with melanin, and he's one of the pioneer men out of that book. He understood it, but he couldn't tell the people about the cult because they wasn't ready. So they went on 4 or 5 years with the melanin conference, and they linked it with saying, yeah, you black and all this here, but they never linked it on how it's going to really liberate yourself. So then the white man kept saying, so what, you got melanin, what that mean? Yeah, we know what it means. That's right. Because it's going to take him out. Look, okay, in the long way, the darkness, nux, is being nothing, which means nux means the blackness means nothing. And from the nothing, what I said earlier, you get the absolute. The nothing means black. Being nothing is therefore probably everything. From the black, you get everything, because from the black, you get nothingness. And from the nothing, you get the absolute. And in the Hermetic literature, absolute means the all in all, which means Allah, which means Sirius. Check me? You got that? Okay, let's go on. The sum total 96, 180 is the former number of Amen, the hidden God. In you, you have a spirit called a hidden God. This physical you is not the real you. You have a greater spirit, which is the real you, and after this body drops, it goes on. It's called energy. This is just the physical you, which is the Lord's manifestation in you. And while you look into the physical, you can't get to the spirit. That's why you must die. Be in this world, but not of this world. You get the deal? Amen is the hidden God, which is the real you. That's what Amen means, which is from Sirius also. Because that Amen was not the sun, that sun God, because Amen was the father of Isis, and Isis meant Sirius. So therefore, it couldn't be the sun God. If Sirius is a greater sun, and Amen is which is Isis, and Amen is the father of Isis, then Amen got to be the doggone Sirius also too. Now, the hidden God, and also Sagula, it's a Dogon term, abnormally heavy metal of Sirius B. Now, remember I was talking about the Dogons tell you that everything, and also the ancestors on the Sirius B. Well, Francis Cress Welsing said that the Sirius B is also a part of the Akashic Records, which means the memory bank, which is on Sirius B, and is linked with the same doggone black substance, which is a composite of a greater core of what that is. On Sirius, you see that burnout star. Because all the black hole does is so strong, it sucks stars into the universe. Now, let's go on. The chosen of Nut. Nut means black. In Egypt, they have something called the chosen of Nut. Nut means black. The blackness of space, the great mother Africa, which is the first primordial god, which has Sirius. But she has the chosen of Nut, later on represented as the lost tribes of Israel, are the chosen people. But remember, the first Jews didn't come from Europe. They came from where? Hemmitt. The only white Jew only came out of Europe during the Wars of Spain, when they had chosen the religion of the new religion. They chose the Jewish religion. But the original Jews were black people, which followed Jehovah, which means Sirius. And they were the chosen people of God, which means black people. You get it? So the chosen of Nut is actually, because Moses was an Egyptian priest that taught them all this, he actually is talking about the lost children of Ra, or the lost sons of Ra. Ra meaning what? In the Hermes, the strike magician, material of the Sahudian material means the black one. Ra means that the Ra colored is a blue-black god. And the children of Ra, if Ra is a blue-black god, and the chosen children of Israel, which is the chosen children of Ra, got to be what? Black people. Blue-black. Which are the blue-black men that were from Atlantis, that is also under the ground in the subterranean world, and we don't even get into this, so that's another lesson. But it's also the blue-black people of Atlantis that were seen all over the world, and also recorded Atlantis when it sunk, and took the doggone recordings and put them in a temple down in South America. You can get that in Peter Thompson's book, Secret of the Mexican Pyramid. So the children of Nut, or the chosen of Nut, or the children of Ra, are black people. Now, go into this space, Steve. Let's get a little more about this melanin, and we can go home to show you how this thing works. The space seed, which means the Kosh, the black egg, which is called the super ninja. That's why, remember now, the Japanese, when they got one of their highest martial arts, they all put on black. They got that from an esoteric code called the super ninja. And the super ninja, remember now, the first Japanese were black people. That's why the samurai warrior said, you can't be a real samurai warrior until half the blood until they got the full black. Get that in after President early age, the Nobel Rashid does a scholarship on that. Well, it's called a super ninja, but it's also called the Akash. Look at that word, Akash. Now, it's driving some. I ain't gonna hold you long. I ain't got but a little more. Y'all stick with me. Told you I was gonna put it on you. The Akash. The same white woman that I told you was pretty fair, that wrote the book. She got a little bit of thing. You know, you got to take them all with a grain of salt. But she said some things. Honorable Elijah Muhammad told you that the black man is God. Jeremiah tells you in Book of the Beginning, Volume 1, that if you really want to understand the image, the true image of God in this universe, you must look at that primordial black Africa, which is the microcosmic God, because you cannot even conceive of the macrocosmic God, which is the all in all. So the God you knew in history that they talked about was black people. The Akash, the substance less vaporous than ether. Less vaporous than ether. That means that it can suck in. Also, the substance consistently, internally objected to intelligence, which is memory. The will of God, his infinite imaging resources within creation. Akash is the imaging stuff in which God appears and manifests in all states of existence. Now, what does that mean? She's telling you that the word Akash, the Akash means black. That's what it means. And she's telling you that it is a substance, which is melanin, that we have. She's also telling you that it is the image of God within all living things, unless you are a mutant. Unless you are a mutant. If you are a mutant, you are broken down like this. This is the true meaning of this thing. You have different ones. You have the navel is on the 2. And then you have 444, the navel is the 3, which is 555. The genital is 444. These are levels. The heart is 666, which is a level, and the head is 777, which is the pineal area, which we are the original 7 people, because the pineal area, when you deal with this area, you're dealing with melanin. And the snake, the kundalini, rises up. Now, white people can have a spiritual attainment too, but they have to go through another process, or a process to get it. They got to go through this meditation to get it, whereas it's going to open up in us because of the cycle of this. And you go on up to the 888, the 999, all the way to the 1000, which is up there, way up there. But the 777, which the word Sirius means sept in Egypt, and the word sept in Egypt means 7. So when she said that this akash, this substance, means the image of God, in which is given the image, she's giving you another thing. She's also telling you that not only on the outside, but when you talk about image of what you can see in the akash, meaning black. So when you see black people, you see God. That's what it means. Now, let's go on. I want to show you this part right here, and we can be taking this stuff home in 1 minute. Boom, boom, boom. 1 minute. Yeah. Yeah, we're on track now. Now, in the akash, which is in melanin, which is in the medulla oblongata, the base of the spine. Remember I tell the story about one of my friends who was working in medical school. He had a guy that was doing an autopsy, and how they could tell a white person that came in that they didn't know whether it was white or black. All they had to do was crack that skull open and look in the back of that skull and see that black. You see what I'm saying? So the black stuff is in the medulla oblongata, which is also the voice of God, or the mouth of God. And first there was the word. Yes? In the mouth of God, in the medulla oblongata, you have the black stuff called the akash. And in the black stuff called the akash, you have the sacred seed from space. The sacred seed from space is coming from Sirius. It's the stuff that wakes you up when Sirius comes back to the earth. Sirius comes back to you. And the sacred seed from space is called a bindu. The bindu, B-I-N-D-U. The seed or bindu in the darkness of the akashic egg. You got that? Of the akashic egg. The bindu is the connection with one single point or seed of cosmic creativity. That point or dot or seed is the black dot. The black dot theory, which is Francis West Wilson, and also is Richard Kane, all in the black dot theory. The black dot seed goes like this. In the staff of Tahuti, you can imagine that. You see this on your doctor's thing, or the medical association. You have the caduceus in the staff. The caduceus means the trail of the kundalini that rises to the top. When it hits this black dot seed, you have these wings, which means Christ consciousness. But the seed is right in there, which is the bindu seed, which is in you, which is the seed of the eon. You understand? This is where it is. See, they talk about the bindu in all these books, but they don't ever show where it is. Well, that's where it is. It's the bindu seed, or the Christ consciousness is what it is. Now, going on. Let's get this thing and let's. All right. In 1983, the Mind Brain report that I got from Brother Seti One gave me a copy of that, and I'll give you. The white boys concluded, the doctors, that the Mind Brain report is melanin. This particular substance is the substance of God that gives you memory, like a roll, a tape, or a roll of videotape that you can remember all the way back to the beginning. Remember I said about they had this genetic code that they put into people and they can remember all the way back to the beginning. Therefore, if you can remember back to the beginning when you were God, then that means you will remember that you are God. Okay? So it goes all the way back to the beginning. Now, the Mind Brain report talks about this, that this black melanin, this black substance, if you was to cut it open, let's say just a hypothetical, if you was to cut it open, you would see light. So it means it manifests light, because from the triple blackness of space, you get light. A man with a 3rd grade education told us that, and we thought he was crazy, right? Gopi Krishna, in his book, Kundalini in the New Ages by Gorpa Krishna, it says right here, it says there are devices that will come into operation during the time of seemingly annihilative nuclear war to save the race from extinction. Well, nuclear war my ass. They're talking about that white boy getting busy is what they talking about. Ain't no nuclear war. He ain't gonna blow up the planet. The planet gonna tip over on his axis and throw him off. All kind of stuff. But he ain't. But that stuff, the seemingly devices they're talking about, the Benducine would rest in us. You see, you can't kill God, and all you gotta know is who you are. We are not going anywhere. You understand? Now, let's run this thing on down. To tap this all off, I got 2 or 3 more things to do, and we can get on out of here. The magical light called Lux. In this Kundalini process that you have what you call a cosmic fire. A cosmic fire. It comes from the base of the spine. It comes up and opens up the bright mind. Comes and she feels the chakras and you have now gone to your original function of Christ. That cosmic fire comes from Sirius. It says, "O thou salamander fire, crinkling thy blazing." Talk about the blazing star, which is the Bendu seed. The blazing star, all right by Sirius the star, which gives you the word of God, which means Om, which means Heru, which means Ra, which means Amen, which is the word of God also too. As in the beginning there was the word. The word is Om. The word is Tao. The Chinese Tao is the word. You see, those are some of the words of God. Now, one last piece. Jesus was especially, see, they give you code words because they don't want to just link things together, but you know what? Jesus was especially united with Polaris. What is Polaris? Polaris, in this particular work that the woman Kundalini West talks about, is, and it's a good book, tell you about the Zodiac, tell you about the Shark, tell you all this. Polaris is actually Sirius. Polaris, this star, an initiator to all of those within the constellation of the constellation body supporting Sirius. I also talk about the Sagittarius, which I am, that automatically be drawn to this thing. Supporting Sirius. The initiates on Earth, on the cosmic dispo level, working with Polaris, are working to bring the omnipotent cell in their physical brains, the Bendu cell, remember that, in their physical brains and in the brains of the Shellas, which means, I guess it means the body, at the end of the spine is united with the pole of the south, the god of the south, the Kundalini god, the goddess Shakti in India, the goddess Sekhmet, the goddess Sut, and also in Egypt, which means Sirius, the god of south. Sirius rises from the south on New Year's Day every July 23rd. Used to be in Egypt and rose the Nile. Well, this rises from the south up to the base of up to the brain, up to the pineal gland, and unites you to Christ. The pole of the south of the earth, which is also, this is a spiritual earth too. All who work with the hierarchy to produce an individual atom in the body, in the brain with Sirius, the dog star. So it's all talking about things that's connected. One last point and we can get on out of here. The idea that a race of lions existed in the Sirius complex. They said the lion is Leo. Leo is when Sirius rises every July 23rd, you have Leo, which is in the conflict, which is the zodiac sign of Leo. And the lion represents that because that's when it used to rise, and that's what Sekhmet is. Sekhmet is the lion god of Egypt. And when it rises, it says that it has a certain magical spiritual substance, which is the same black substance that we're talking about here, which is in black holes, which is among us now, partially going through us, which is in us. This substance they're talking about is this lion substance. Now, it also means, like I told you before, quickening, and also means about quickening, and also if you're doing the right thing, you're being quickened. If you're doing the wrong thing, you're going crazy, because it's really not the process. But some of our black people are also crazy too, but they ain't going to get with it, because what's going to happen is, if you don't get with it before time is up, they will clear you out, like that'll be your punishment, and you will go on. So it can free that energy will be transferred into some positive. Now, to accommodate this, what I'm saying is this. Number one, the dead gonna rise. That's all the proof and all the stuff that these people are talking about. The dead is gonna rise. What it means is, between the time of now and 1997 is the time that is that void you gotta look out for. So the white void are the powers of deep. Powers of deep, you're gonna get this something. The powers of deep. The void is what you gotta look out for, but death is surely around the world. Now what you need to be doing, you be a death. Because see, when this thing opens up, even though some of our people are gonna rise, in the universe there's several hierarchies. There's one hierarchy and there's another hierarchy. The one hierarchy is those people that rise to the fourth dimension and be clear on all these foolishness going on. Because when the Kundalini rises, they say the real world begins and the false world disappears. We are in the false world, which doesn't exist. That's why we can't get it. It's all about spirituality. Now, some people say, now he was going crazy. He's just emotional about all the stuff that's going on around here. Now he wants to just hand it off on some food stuff. I'm telling you what he is. This is the actual stuff. This is what he is. Because whatever you should do one thing if you're going to do something right. Notice on the right, they go out to the table. They got classes on how to bring people in the fourth dimension. All these metaphysical bookstores, all this stuff, they get it. But see, they got to do it to meditate. You're going to do it anyway, but before you're saying, well, it's going to happen anyway. Why do I have to do it? Number one, you've seen that boy. You need to be doing some spiritual awareness from other people. You've seen that boy when you do raise this stuff, you don't have to eat as much, you don't have to sleep as much. You can have spiritual enlightenment on where to go. If it's showing up, when they cut out this money, all hell gonna break loose. All hell gonna break loose. So you need to be getting spiritually in tune right now. That's the step. So now, after you get spiritually in tune, when this stuff opens up, it's not going to be also a business, also will have your people in the crazy house. Have tapped into the spiritual energy and you have the knowledge of it. So everything, all these borders come through, they go crazy. That's all it is. It's the spiritual world. They have tapped into it. The knowledge of that is different. Now where you come in is this. You are the people that's gone on before them and does the spiritual work and also the sacrifice of that. So, see, you know you're right. You understand how it goes? So you are the first leg of what's going down. So you got to start to take, getting your diet right, getting off the doggone all the bull diet. You know what that is? I don't need to go through all that. Getting on the vitamins, getting off all my videos, I talk about all that stuff. Start doing the right thing and start meditating. Believe me. I hesitated for a whole month before I got to meditate. And when I got really into it, I said, man, why haven't I been doing this for so long? But there's a certain amount of stress factor that Bobby Davis was talking about, that you got to go on and get rid of. So you're going to have to start meditating. You are the yourself. So when your people start doing this stuff and they start saying, oh, Lord, what's going on? I'm going crazy. You can be there too. Well, sister, this is what's going on. Well, mama, this is what's going on. You understand? So it ain't always a picnic, but it's got to be a group. They call them the light bringers, the wanderers that sacrifice. And that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about buying them. We're not talking about no money. We're just talking about sitting down, doing the work. You got this. You also sex society over here. You got secret mail. You got enough books. You can bring yourself down without even a person. There's enough books on the shoppers and all that. Right? You can communicate. So we're talking about you doing those things. So when the real deal go down, the killing in between, you can save yourself from that. And the black people that is left over, when the UFOs come and get out all this stuff or whatever, the point I'm saying is you can help them. So now when the whole thing go down and this whole spiritual how these UFOs come back, they say this thing is up. So in the spiritual, in the transcript of the hierarchy, they talk about relevant things. Now, like Mama said, America's going to burn for 15 years. So they go easy. When this stuff happens and stuff, we go be transferred to an alternate planet. What's that coming in? Past. This alternate planet. You will be on another level also too. That's all we're talking about. You chose to say, say, hey, I'm going to do something, I ain't going to go out like that. The real etymological thing of not going out like a chump is getting right. They ain't talking about shooting nobody. That nigga out there shooting nobody like my man said, he ain't no chump, he'll do food. So we talking about that. Now, like Elder Blair said, and he said the same thing, that 95 of that new race of people, I believe is, and I believe that new race of people are going to be you for doing the initial work. And then, but also you are the initial people for the greater new race of people, which is all our people just reawakening. But that new race of people around 95, let's say 1997, because that's the Dogon, and also that's on the 7, which is the primordial number of Sirius, and which is the number in you. You understand? Which is on the 7. When you when 1997 comes, we can say this much. Deborah Blair talks about this star Sanchez, which you can see it in your sky now. Over this bright star. Over here, over in now I'm coming to some point in this way. It would be the east if you really know the east, so you'll see the north. Basically, the way you always see it. The practice coming in the sky is that come back there. He said now in he said when the star in the crescent, when you see the star in the crescent there for so many months out of it, you know it's time to be a big strip. So you gotta go where you gotta go. Well, he said in his thing that came out with the Dogon stuff and what my psychic girl said 1997 was the time when he was gambling. All of this stuff. His thing was 1997. Well, it started first, that is the signal. It's on the Nation of Islam flag, and it's on the regular Islamic Nation flag, which is not just an Islam, that is an old symbol to go back for millions of years. It is the signal to get right. You understand? So now when this happens and stuff, you can already be on your way. Now I'm going to end with this last quote out of the Book of the Dead. We can get on out of here. It sums it all up. See, right in the Book of the Dead, in this one passage is telling you what the whole deal is. This is the guy, I think this is Ani, which is the papyrus of Ani, which is the transformation of this one person going through the transformation to get to heaven. In this particular thing, remember now, this is all in Islam, Judaism, and all that. I've already explained that. It says, in the passage, he said, I have set up a ladder to the sky among the gods. I am one of them. It's a man, see? No. You got problems with all that. Remember now, all your religion came up out of the African thing. Right here, he said, I have set up a ladder to the gods. I am one of them. I have spoken like a goose until the gods hear my cry. He's praying for something. Which I repeat to Sothic, which is Sirius. So that passage right there is telling you one thing. That you are God, but you got to rise to that level. It's also telling you also that you're among the other gods, but it's also telling you where these gods reside. Their abode is on Sirius, which this planet was directly seeded from that, and this planet was under the number 7, of which they say is one of the oldest planets in this solar system, believe it or not. People don't know that. And the actual people called the Els, or the elder race, were people from Sirius, where you get El Sada, Elohim. The elder race comes from Sirius, which means the all also, or El, or Allah, all this. It means this particular planet was the planet of the gods also in this solar system. We got other planets around, but it was the planet of the gods that failed. And we got trapped in the third dimension, and we had to see this whole thing through. And basically, what it's saying is, we got to get rid of this inferiority complex, know who we are, do the right thing, and we got to stop thinking that our sect and our religion and all this is different than the other. We are talking about one particular, one source, many schools, but all with the same aim. Brothers, I guess that's about all. And I say I enjoyed you coming out, and believe me, that's a lot of stuff. But believe me, these videos 3 times better when you take them home and look at them. And I've taught a lot of people. I've been blessed with that. So now I know there ain't no questions. Is there any questions and answers? Because mostly when I do my lectures, there ain't no question and answers. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take this guy, and then I'm going to give you some books to get. That's cool, and we can get on out of here. What's yours, brother? Yeah.
I read that Ethiopians, they leave Egypt. All right. And the connections I get, the first tribe of people, which was the Pygmies, they was called the Twelfth tribe.
Yeah.
All right. To my belief, I believe the Ethiopian, because if you read history, you'll notice that all right, when they goes to Saudi Arabia, all right, the stone what came from heaven named
Blackstone? Yeah, go ahead.
all right, ended up, the Egyptians gave them a part of that stone. That's why it's in
Kaaba.
Yeah,
the Blackstone came from Ethiopia.
yeah.
It did. John Henry Clark did a whole lecture on that particular thing. The Blackstone did come from Ethiopia. Also, the connection you just make is. Remember I said that the super Muslims were the Kushite Arabs, or the Kushim, or where was Kush? Kush was Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Ethiopia. Another passage I want you to know too, that the word Elijah, the word Elijah is in two figures that's also hooked up in that. Elijah that was born in Sandusville, Georgia, with the name Elijah, didn't change that. And also Haile Selassie with the word Jah, Elijah, and Gerald Manson, Historical Jesus, Mythical Christ, put those two together. So we're talking about that Ethiopian Muslim connection also, but we understand that whole thing is all related. It's all related. And Jah means Jehovah, which means Sirius. The sun in Sirius, which is Haramakik, which is the god who, which is the lion Sphinx, which is Ethiopia, which is the whole thing with the Sphinx. Jah also means the sun, and Jehovah means the sun in Sirius, which is Horus only arising. Horus is you, black people, arising with Sirius when the god Sothis, the god Hathor brings Sothis through her knees, New Year's Day, the rising, the black people will rise up, the dead can actually see a way clear, and then Ra comes, which is the ship of Ra, and say, get on board. This is in the papyrus. And also the ship of Ra, or when they do the Sigi ceremony, which is the Hinti ceremony in Egypt, which is Osiris, which unleashed the ship of death. And the ship of death is the ship of Ra. Ra meaning black people. So the mothership we talking about, there's many motherships, as I'm going to tell you. The ship of death, though, is coming from Ra, is retribution, which is coming from Sirius to turn this world upside down, which is many ships. Like I said before, we talking about 3,000 spacecrafts, and that's what George Hunt Williamson said in 1954. We talking about millions now. As a matter of fact, I already had a girl that already done had the vision of that, and she saw the spacecraft over Washington, D.C., and the buildings dropping like sand. So it's all connected, brother. Yeah. Okay, what's that?
Yes. First, I would like to thank Bobby. This is the first time we decided to work together and do something, and we just put it together. And I'm sitting back there. My antennas are just beaming because what I'm going to say right now is going to take it to another dimension based on what I heard him say. In 36 hours, I can put you in touch with the Akashic Records. In 36 hours, I can give you armament to do most of the things that was explained to you. We can do it now I like to do it doing the physical, meaning we do some physical stretches, some breathing, and we do some sit-down meditation. I would establish points of reference for you in the inanimate matter kingdom, in the plant life kingdom, the animal life kingdom, the human kingdom, and the creative kingdom. Then we can coexist with the Creator to help balance off whatever is not running right. Because what the mind can conceive and believe was not created by no white woman. We have the power. So we can definitely put this to the test, and we can have the common denominator method. We can start doing little experiments in our community to see if we can change the scene of the crack and the drugs and what have you. See if through mind power alone we can clear them out. We can work on our own personal problems to build up our strength. Because that's one thing we all have in common. We all have some problems. And we can clear up those problems. Then once you get your confidence that you can do these things, then you can go and start doing bigger and better things. Because the Creator wants coexistence. This here universe is a massive place. And we are here to see what we can do to make the Creator pleased with His creation. We're not here to just wither away and die and be all frustrated and uptight and tense. We got a bigger job because we cannot die. We multiply. We cannot die. So we need to now, since we realize that, we need to go up into the other dimensions and establish points of reference. The same way we establish points of reference on this dimension, we need to establish points of reference. I told you earlier that negative things have no influence over you. It might take me a long time to decrud that from you because slavery was a breeding season to make you feel inferior, to take you from your crown, from your throne, and bring you down lower than the base average. So we're on the rise now. And I'm here to tell you that all of you have the power. 9,999 sperm cells, unless you're a twin. And you're 1 in a million because you made it. So your biggest challenge is behind you.
Yeah, almost out of the door.
Your biggest challenge is behind you. So with the brother's lecture, you see, this is the part that I didn't really have. And I'm back there listening and how he's tying it all together and not offending nobody and dealing with all the different cultures. Then I come in with maybe in between every hour and I do about 25 minutes exercise in between hours. They'll let you go back. See, I take you to the subjective. I take you to the inner. Where right now we're on the 5 senses. We're on the outer. We're dealing with, as the Greeks call, the beta. So I establish points of reference at the alpha and theta and delta dimension. We make it real. Rather than just dealing with all this beta blue. Let's now go into the mansions. Let's go into the red and the black, since I've been there. I know the way. And we can knock on the doors. Come on. We can go into different little rooms. Because when you do things in your bathroom, you don't do the same thing in your bathroom that you do in your kitchen. Oh. And you don't do the same thing in your kitchen that you do in your living room. At least you should. Because there's many rooms in that mansion. So if you're ready, we can go into some of those other interior parts of the house, parts of the temple. We can click the light on. We can see what's in there rather than speculate. And I would like to know how many of you would like to actually, if you feel this was stimulating, just by a show of hands, how many of you would like to go a little further? Let's go. Okay, that's encouraging. That's encouraging. What we need to do is the brother and I need to sit back and talk, and maybe we need to get a little list and a telephone number so that we can contact you people again and figure out how we can do this, because you need to find out first how you're going to make a living. And this is a fantastic field. We can market this. I'm not looking at it from the marketable level. But when you deal with the creative aspect of our Nguza Sabbath, we can definitely put this into a marketing concept. But I'm not looking at it from that. My job is to let it out. And I've been very selective with who I let it out with. So I give people a little, and see how they handle it. Because I'm responsible for you whether you make it or not. So since I'm very cautious about that, I don't give you too much. I drop a little on you and see, and I make you bungry. That lets me know, okay, it must be something there. I make a person, when are we going to have it? When are we going to do it? When are we going to do it? You promised last week, you promised. And I do a lot of praying because I say, Heavenly Father, you know, I'm responsible for my mistakes as well. So, if you're ready to go into the deeper waters, we can take you across. The brother said something about the Sufi and the Yoruba. I don't tell people, but I was Sufi long time ago. I mean, you know, I'm listening to this man. You know, I'm Sufi long time ago. You see my mom, she know I'm Yoruba.
Yeah, that's right. God all around us.
So I'm like, you know, what is this man saying? You know. So it impelled me to say, well, let me share a little more. So if you are interested in taking this, and first of all, everyone needs to be a priest and a priestess of their own family. You take it to your family first. Work with your family. Correct the things in your own household. And I know we got plenty in our own families that we can work with. Because we know what the family structure is today. And that's our first invention. That's our technology. We gave that to the world. And yet we are suffering with our own families right now. Let's get an amen. Amen. So we got to first straighten up our families. Then once we do that, we can then go to the four corners. And then once we do that, because we space people. The planet Earth is in space. So we're the first extraterrestrials we know. So we space people. So once we become aware of that, so I just wanted to lay that on the brother.
You all can definitely, you know where our master is. We got it. When they came out, they're coming out all over. You know who the master is. Now don't be scared. They're coming out from all over, and it's time. And it's not just one person. This brother, Baba of Asia, he's his center. He's based right out of here. So you can get in touch with him. You can also get in touch with me.
Well, I would like to work together.
Okay. We'll do that later on, and all. These people will come back, and all. But let me give you a little bit of books and all, so we can close it out. But look, hey, you go ahead. Let's go ahead.
I just want to know a little bit more about the concentration camps. Are we going to try to put all of us in there, or just the ones that up like now that's in these prisons now?
Well, they did 600,000. They took a zero and put in there and made it a symbolic number of 6 million. They did 600,000 before. So let's put it this way. He gonna try. You understand? He know he can't win this war with us. As far as our brothers on Sirius, but he gonna try, because that's the nature. You understand? They were warned, what, 30, 40 years ago, what was gonna go down, but they gonna try anyway. You understand? Plus they got a little bit of inferior stuff coming from Orion and stuff, which they already got their behinds with before. So the main thing is, you know we're gonna get out of it because that war has already been won. But the point about it, they're gonna try. And you remember now, they're also trying to stop this melanin capacity in you through the Atlanta project with immunization thing with what's my man Carter. With Carter, and got Michael Jackson to shoot up all those babies. They shot up all those babies for the immunization thing. Now if you got some babies that went through that, don't be alarmed, because you can do some things spiritually to get that off of you, but most of the people ain't gonna do that. So they're trying to stop that. They're also trying to stop that through most medicine that comes from prescription drugs are designed against melanin. Most of the diet and stuff are designed against melanin. So they're trying all kinds of ways. It's not just the concentration camps. They're trying all different kinds of ways to do stuff. See what I'm saying? So my point is yes, that's a reality, but my point is, if you start doing the right thing, you can prevent all that from happening. At least you won't be, and you can be on the outside helping those. But the void is not just the concentration camps. It's AIDS, which is Fort Detrick, Maryland, Chronicles of Biological Warfare, 1969, Burbank Monkey, meaning the cold, meaning the disease, dropped in Africa by World Health Organization and stuff. And so we're talking about a genocide, not just concentration camps. We're talking about through diet. We talking about through the water. We talking about through all of that. So in actuality, you're going to have some spiritual faculties to even get through all of that. But we're saying now, that's the go-ahead from my partner. I'm not going to say his name because, because we need people working on the inside too. But that's the go-ahead. And so now, my whole thing is, from the prison, that they have gotten these facilities and made them into a concentration camps, and they're going to put them. And they're saying, when they say about the year 2000, well, yeah, a couple of years, they're going to have half the population, they said half the population going to be in prison down there, what they told them almost. And they ain't talking about white people. They talking about a few of them, but they talking about black people mostly. So they're talking about the King Alpha plan more than they are talking about what's called. So my whole thing is you got to put your trust in God. Don't go with no strategies on how you gonna stop. You got to put your trust and you got to go this way. The Spirit wants you to talk to it. Not try to go no Rambo jump. The Spirit saying do what you got to do. What's that?
Yeah, I was at about this new highway they just cut through 285.
Well, see, now 285. They built 285, and that was the perimeter because all black people were in the perimeter. But since they built 285 and opened that up, a lot of black people, especially Atlanta being this black mecca or whatever, have moved outside of the perimeter. So they're building a 385 also too. So that's all to keep you boxed in. And those things are reinforced with the type of steel that they can bring tanks right on in. But remember, like Ali Muhammad said, Revolution 101, you get that tape. He is equipped to fight a war on the outside, but he catch hell fighting a war on the inside. And there's so many things we got to do. Because remember, his own people live on the inside too. And in the last 50 years, they live close to black people. Yeah. So, so what you going to do about that type thing? What's that, honey?
Yes. What about this, the churches? All of the churches have signed agreement with the One World government and the One World Church. And they're not putting this information out to the congregation. Only a few white ministers are doing it. But I have, since I've been here only a month, I have contacted all of the black Christian bookstores. None of them know anything about it. I got the documents.
Yeah, well, you got to realize one thing. You got to realize one thing about them. You got to realize one thing that that is a cycle that saved us from going crazy out of slavery because we needed some type. We had lost the knowledge of self, so we needed some type of something to hold us together. To keep us from going from self-destructing as the white man thought we was going to do when we got out of slavery. When he said we had destroyed their minds for what we know, and as we know, we have closed all avenues in which light can travel, and in the slave's mind, and as we know, they would be like the beast of the field, have no fear. But the religion saved us, but that was a part of that. But now it is to the point where it's also killing us also, because in actuality, you have an onslaught of ignorance and emotion, and you don't have the adequate knowledge of self. And the churches have refused to go into that. Some of them still got the white Jesus Christ up. So that is just as bad as crack. One thing is prevalent in crack prevalent in the black community is crack and drugs and alcohol. But in the AU Center alone, from this point, from Fairmont all the way to the Fulton County Stadium, there's 96 churches. But yet we got the worst communities in town, but we have the most churches. So obviously something is wrong because your church is supposed, your community is supposed to be a reflection of your church. But yet all that's going on. And the same goes for the AU Center with all the education. You got a school that's set smack dab in the middle of all the most degrading community in Atlanta. And your community is supposed to be a reflection of your school. In actuality, if you got a school, the community is supposed to reflect. Well, in actuality, white man gave us both those systems. Now we know that the real spirituality of Christ is real. He also too, But if the white man gave you everything bad since you've been here, why in the hell he gonna give you some good religion? He gave you something that is a tool of ignorance to pacify you from going this way. You see what I'm saying? There is knowledge in there, but the meat is under that Bible, and the preachers ain't getting to the meat. The same way with the schools too. How he gonna give you everything bad? He gonna give you a good education. That is to pacify you and make you the world buffer system for world oppression. Which means is you become a part of this for white people, and in actuality, inadvertently, you are the buffer system to hold your whole community back, because all you do is you get educated and you transfer all the funds out of the community because you live outside of the community. You shop outside the community. Yeah, you got 5 minutes? 8 minutes, and so all that is going.
Books.
I tell you what, the books, I can't do no more. I tell you some of the books you need to get. Number one, you need to get Other Tongues of the Flesh. You need to get the Sirius Mystery by Robert K. Temple. Dolphins, Telepathy, and Underwater Birthing. Timothy Wiley. We'll have all those at Black Media Communications. Ancient Egypt, the Sirius Connection by Mary Hope. Another good book, I told you about the book, Kundalini West by Anna Marie Carlton. Historical Jesus Mythical Christ by Gerald Massey. Dion Fortune, Cosmic Doctrine. Kundalini, Evolutionary Enlightenment edited by John H. White. Got a bunch of people in it. Melanin Chemical Key to Black Greatness by Carol Bowens. The Biological Psychiatry, the Outdoors of the Biological Psychiatry by Richard King on the melanin. Let's see what else. A lot of this stuff I got is out of. This was a thing on the UFOs based on the secret societies and the occults and their link with the UFOs and the whole thing on here. Messengers of Deception by Jack Willis Valley. How they've been dealing with the UFO thing since the late 1950s. And basically, yeah, the book is coming forth by Dave. Read that again. And basically, if you really want to look at some other stuff, you need to. This is a good book, even though she's a little whitewashed. Atlantis Built in Reality by Mary Hope. And also go and rent my videos at Black Media Communication, and I have a whole book list on those videos. And is that it?
You still got 5 minutes.
5 minutes. A whole book list on those videos. Also get the Theology of Time by Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Also get the Message to the Black Man, Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And get this new book, Essays on the Life and Teachings of Master Farad Muhammad. Foundation of the Nation of Islam, founder of the Nation of Islam. And also get a book called The Autobiography of a Yogi by Yogananda. It tells you if you doubting about being God, you read that book. There's no doubt in your mind on what people can do. Disappear, all kinds of things. If the sky's the limit, but you got to get out of the physical and get more into the spiritual, and therefore the physical won't hold you a slave. And so that's about it. And I appreciate you coming out. I'll answer your question as soon as the video cut off, because I don't want to get in the middle of it. And then people come back saying, I saw your video and the brother asked a good question, and boom, I didn't get a chance to do it and all. But for those of you who have to go and all, it's been lovely. Like I said, this book here, Jean Duress, the secret books of the Egyptian Gnostics, talk about the way the religion came up out of Kemet and came into what you know, also with the historical Jesus, mythical Christ. Also another good book, Man, God, Civilization by John G. Jackson, Echoes of the Old Dark Land by Charles S. French. Another metaphysical book is 14 Lessons of a Yogic Philosophy by Yogi Ramasharaka, whatever his name is. You can get that, and different books on that. The Astral Planes by C.W. Ledbetter, The Astral Body by A.E. Powell. There's so many books in the metaphysics. Just go to Black Media Communication and get all of those books. There's so much stuff. Yeah.